4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, before we get to Tony Perkins, welcome aboard. As Israel buries their 3 dead teenagers today, the response from this administration is far from satisfactory, in my opinion. Not only has this administration, from the get-go, decided to recognize, both financially and otherwise, the unity government formed by the Palestinian Authority and Hamas, recognized terrorist group, recognized by Israel and the United States as a terrorist group. But in the aftermath of the brutal slayings of the 3 teenagers and one with dual citizenship as an American citizen, Barack Obama says, as a father, I cannot imagine the indescribable pain the parents of these teenage boys are experiencing. From the outset, I've offered our full support to Israel and the Palestinian Authority to find the perpetrators. Don't make me laugh. The Palestinian Authority is going to find the perpetrators. And then he goes on to say, I urge all parties to refrain from steps that could further destabilize the situation. Really, really. Well, I hope that Israel retaliates much, much more than they already have. They need to retaliate not only for the murder of these 3 young teenagers, but also for the rockets that are being fired from Gaza into Israel as of late. Of course, the president has no concern about that. So Barack Obama, once again, stepping up to the plate, pretending that the Palestinian Authority could find the perpetrators and telling Israel, basically, back off, take it easy. It's only 3 dead kids. All right, as a father. All right, Tony Perkins about to join us. And before we get to the head of the Family Research Council, the president of the Family Research Council, I want us all to hear from Hillary Clinton, who was responding to the Hobby Lobby decision yesterday. Here's some of what she had to say.
Many more companies will claim religious beliefs, and some will be sincere, but others maybe not. And we're going to see this one insurable service cut out for many, many women. And there's a lot of other things. You know, there are companies that may be closely held by employers who don't believe in blood transfusions. That's a religious belief that certain people hold. So does that mean if you have need for a blood transfusion, your insurance policy doesn't have to cover it? So, I mean, this is a really bad slippery slope.
All right, the slippery slope. And joining us as promised is Tony Perkins, president of the Family Research Council. Tony, thank you, sir, for joining us.
Hey, it's great to be with you, Steve.
Appreciate that. Okay, so there's Hillary Clinton, and she's echoing almost tamely the mantra of the left, the hysteria on the left. First of all, before we get to that, your take on yesterday's 5-4 ruling on Hobby Lobby.
Well, I think it was, as has been stated by many people, this is a very significant religious liberty ruling. The court recognizing that you don't check your faith at the door of the marketplace, that people who enter into business as a family, closely held corporations, do not have to leave their values behind. And I think that's not only in keeping with the history of this country, but very significant in going forward. I mean, we want people who have values. We want people who have those deeply rooted beliefs to be in the marketplace. I mean, I know that's the type of people I want to do business with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, it's interesting, Tony, because I had the attorney for one of the families involved in this yesterday who argued before the Supreme Court, and she said that the Solicitor General of the United States said during the arguments that Hobby Lobby could be in compliance if they just dump all health insurance for all of their employees and don't even give them any extra money to help pay for their new policy. So here you have the left demagoguing this, oh, you know, poor women can't get 4 abortion pills out of 25 birth control pills, yet according to Obama and the administration, it would have been fine if they said no blood transfusions, no checkups, no cancer treatment, nothing.
You're right, Steve, and they actually encourage that by the fine structure because it's just $2,000 a year if they dump an employee, but it's $36,500 per employee if they choose not to provide this contraception coverage. Now, it was interesting. Yesterday, I was in Pennsylvania with the Hahn family, which was the co-plaintiff in this case, Conestoga Wood Specialties. It's a Mennonite family. They have nearly 1,000 people that work for them. And I had that conversation with them, Steve. I actually asked them. I said, you know, you could avoid this if you just dropped health care for your employees. And, you know, we've that has been before us as we've struggled with this decision. But our faith is a part of who we are, and so we don't want to provide something that runs counter to that faith. But we also, because of our faith, want to do the best we can for our employees. And so they were in a real predicament. And the outcome of this, left unchecked by the courts, would have been exactly that. You would have had companies that would have, A, either dropped health care coverage, or B, some of them would have potentially shut down and closed business and walked away with their profits that they had made. But it would be the employees that would have suffered as a result of this overreaching of our federal government.
Now, what this has done for the left, or at least to the mouthpieces of the left, is reinvigorated this war on women. The president's spokesman announcing yesterday he's worried about the health of women. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Hillary Clinton, you name them, the list goes on and on and on. And of course, I mean, nothing based on what we just discussed about how they would have been happy if all the health care went away in the first place. It's insincere. But even on its face, just the fact that, you know, women could still get these pills. I mean, right. They could go buy them. They'll probably be reimbursed by the government, unfortunately, for them. I mean, this is a non-issue, and they're claiming, these people on the left, that women are now losing their health care because of this.
It's just outlandish. It's not based in reality, and essentially that's what the court said. This is not the least restrictive means by which this is. If you think it's essential, if you think women have to have access to this through their employer, or the government needs to make it happen, there's another way to do it. The government already, through Title X funding, provides this out there free of charge to people all across the country. And if they want to do it, then they can do it that way. They don't have to force businesses to be their mules to carry this stuff, to people across this country. So you're right. This was really at its core, Steve, not about contraception. It was not about drugs that potentially end the life of unborn children. That was a part of it. What this was about, I believe, in the eyes of the government of the Obama administration, was to break through the firewall that has long existed around religious freedom in this country. And if they could have forced businesses on this issue in this manner, there would be nothing stopping them for advancing the rest of their liberal anti-religious agenda.
Agreed. Well said. Let's move on to, or move back, if you will, to the ruling, the 9-0 ruling on the buffer zones, the Massachusetts law, which kept protesters, I think, 36 feet away, and a 9-0 ruling against that. What does this do, in your view, to similar ordinances elsewhere in the country?
Well, certainly it's going to require some of those ordinances to be amended, or they're going to be challenged. I mean, I think that was a significant victory for free speech. It doesn't say that the buffer zone ordinances are on their face unconstitutional, but this one was overly broad. That's why you had a 9-0 ruling on it. But I do think that this will benefit free speech in this country, and obviously with that it benefits pro-lifers who are simply out there in this particular case. These weren't protesters. These were women who are on the sidewalks out there doing counseling and simply offering to pray for these women and giving them the information they won't get on the inside of these clinics right there on the sidewalk. And so this was a good decision, and I think we've seen some encouraging decisions coming out of this court that still gives us hope that the republic is still functioning.
Well, along those lines, Tony, there have now been 13 9-0 decisions by the Supreme Court since 2012 going against Obama and his administration. That meaning, you know, including the NLRB, including the aforementioned buffer zone case, and 11 others. What does that say about the power grab that this administration is trying to make when these rulings go against them consistently 9-0.
Well, Steve, it really kind of reminds me of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals out on the left coast. They are the most overturned circuit in the country, and almost every radical idea. I mean, that's where you get the striking down of the pledge, the striking of the motto. I mean, those are coming out of the Ninth Circuit. It reminds me of, I mean, the administration reminds me of that. They're so outside the mainstream of not just legal thinking, but of even the culture. I know they're driving it, they're leading the parade for the left, but you get a sense of reality when the court, and certainly this is not an overly conservative court. I mean, it swings both ways. But when this court, as you pointed out, repeatedly slaps down this president with 9-0 rulings, it tells you this president is way out there.
One more. We have a minute left. You afraid of what he's going to do when it comes to unilaterally fixing, as he said, the immigration problem?
Oh, look, as I was telling a group, I spoke at Messiah College last night, and I told them, I said, look, today's a day to celebrate. We celebrate the decision in the Hobby Lobby case. But our religious freedom, we must remain vigilant for all of our freedoms, because they are simply one executive order away from being attacked. And I see this president becoming, not backing down, not stepping back, but being more aggressive in pushing his agenda. We've got to be vigilant, and we've got to push back. All
right, Tony, thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Great to be with you.
Thank you. Tony Perkins, President of the Family Research Council, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Very interesting response, and absolutely vigilance in the face of a power grab. And I think many people beside me on both sides of the political spectrum, when it comes to being a legal scholar, they know a lot more than me, and they have accused this president of just that. When we come back, we'll discuss all of this and more with the famed Malzberg panel on the Steve Malzberg Show.
Do you own mutual funds? You may be paying fees and costs of up to 5% and not even know it. Fisher Investments isn't a mutual fund, and we don't have hidden fees. Do you own an annuity? Your broker may have made a commission of 8% or more when he sold it to you. Are you sure he had your best interests in mind? At Fisher Investments, we're not brokers, and we don't earn commissions on trades or by selling you products. With our model, as your portfolio grows, we grow.
To learn more about the Fisher Investments difference, call the number on your screen now. We'll send you our free DVD, Investing Secrets for 2014, and our special report, The 8 Biggest Mistakes Investors Make. Plus, the first 100 callers get a free 1-year subscription to Fisher Investments Stock Market Outlook, with insights from our company founder and respected market forecaster, Ken Fisher. Be prepared in 2014. Call now 1-800-575-0066. 1-800-575-0066.
If you want to shed the fat and sculpt your body to get that slim, sexy look of your dreams, then you need to stop working out.
Say what?
And start rocking out with Rockin' Body, the fun new body makeover system that was created by fitness expert and insanity creator Shaun T.
Rockin' Body combines dance and fitness in a fun new way so you can achieve insane weight loss.
I lost 30 pounds dancing.
Now you can tone and tighten your abs, shrink and shape your hips and thighs, and lift and firm your booty, all while you're just dancing.
I've lost 33 pounds. I feel sexy.
And now, for a limited time, the complete $80 Rockin' Body system is 75% off. That's right, Rockin' Body is only $19.95. We'll even upgrade you to express shipping free. Get the complete Rockin' Body system for only $19.95.
Call 1-800-718-8807 or order online at rockinbody.com. 1-800-718-8807. Call now.
DAV stands behind America's veterans to make their transition back home easier with free services and help getting the benefits they've earned. Help us fulfill the promise to our men and women who served. Go to DAV.org to learn more.
Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news, and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
You know, part of the reason I was so adamant about including women and girls in our foreign policy, not as a luxury, but as a central issue, is because they're often the canaries in the mine. You watch women and girls being deprived of their rights. Some of them never have them. Some of them lose them. And among those rights is control over their bodies, control over their own health care, control over the size of their families. And it is a disturbing trend that you see in a lot of societies that are very unstable, anti-democratic, and frankly, prone to extremism.
Really? So this is what's happening now, according to Hillary Rodham Clinton, who, by the way, Business Insider says that Bill and Hillary, and God bless them for doing this, but I just want to educate you, made over $160 million since leaving the White House. Sounds broke to me. Anyway, yeah, now we're one of these societies that deny women their rights because a company won't pay for one of 4 abortion pills. I mean, this, boy, the Republicans better have a fire-back answer for this, and the Republican presidential candidate better have a fire-back answer for this, or they're doomed. Joining us now on the Malzberg panel is Lignet senior analyst Lisa Ruth and founder of Less Government Seton Motley. Welcome to both of you. Let's start with you, Lisa. And you've heard the left. You've heard the hysteria on the part of the left in the wake of the Supreme Court ruling yesterday. What do you make of it?
Well, I certainly think it's giving a lot of fodder to a lot of conversation. And I think really the interesting thing is going to be how we move forward and the talk now about whether the White House is going to try to use executive privilege to get some of this stuff through, or whether they're actually going to follow what the Supreme Court ruling is. That's going to be the next issue at hand.
Seton?
Well, I like to think that we have enough women in America who can tell the difference between the government forcing their employer to buy them abortion pills and birth control. I hope that there's a delineation that can be made there for a majority of women in America. But I think the next step for the Obama administration is to just have the government pick up the tab for these abortion pills. And then my question becomes, isn't that a violation of the Hyde Amendment, which prevents federal government money from actually specifically going to abortion or abortion-type procedures?
Right, and plus you're forcing you and me and Lisa to pay for that abortion.
And there's a Hyde Amendment for that specifically.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. Let's talk, Lisa, about you talk about how the Obama administration will proceed. And yesterday, of course, he wasted no time in the wake of this defeat that said that they overstepped their constitutional bounds on the Affordable Care Act. There he was saying, my Attorney General and the Homeland Security Secretary will inform me how far I could go on my own on immigration reform, and I'm going to do it. He hasn't missed a beat.
No, he certainly has not. And, again, from the point of view of looking at separation of powers and how things are supposed to work, this is very much outside of that. However, I think that what we're really setting up moving forward is that between now and the end of the term, there's really not going to be any consensus. There's not going to be any working together. You're going to have one side against the other. It's going to be very difficult to get things passed. It's going to be very acrimonious.
And Seton, I mean, he's not backing down. He's more strident than ever. And to hold that press conference yesterday, just hours after being shot down again, this time 5-4. But if you go back to 2012, there have been 13 Supreme Court rulings, 9-0, that have shot down this administration and this president in their rulings.
He doesn't care about any of this. His only objective is to grow government as much as possible during his 8 years. If he's going to do anything on him, if he was at all interested in actually coming together with the Republicans on this, he doesn't need any new law. He doesn't need any new executive orders. He can enforce the laws that exist currently as a demonstration of good faith towards any future negotiations. He's not doing that. The law currently requires him to enforce the border. He's not doing that. So anything going forward is a exercise in folly if anyone's pretending that he's interested in any kind of negotiated settlement with the Republicans.
All right, Lisa, let me ask you about the horrific situation in Israel. Yesterday, Israel found those 3 teenagers, one a dual citizen, American and Israeli. They've been buried today, according to Jewish law. And the president yesterday not only said that he urges restraint from all parties, not to inflame the situation and make it worse, which is aimed at Israel, of course, but he also said that from the very beginning, he's offered the help of the United States to both Israel and the Palestinian Authority to bring to justice those who did this. So what dream world is he living in?
Well, you know, taking the whole statement, it's kind of ridiculous looking at where we are right now. I do think the issue when you're looking at the situation, it has to be how things are going to proceed in terms of Israel and the Palestinian Authority and Hamas. The Security Council in Israel is meeting today. We're going to see some very interesting things coming out of this. The hawkish side absolutely wants to crack down on Hamas going in. We've seen airstrikes again today. The question is, what happens next? Will there be a backlash? Will we have reinvigorated Hamas based on this? And my guess actually is that Netanyahu's going to kind of take a middle road here. He's going to have airstrikes, but not going to clamp down nearly as hard as some of the conservatives would like in Israel.
What about it, Seaton?
Well, you know, obviously it's a horrendous situation, and the solution to this long term is to let Israel be Israel, and you don't win wars until you win wars. And that you can't negotiate a settlement if one side is not interested in negotiating a settlement. So, unfortunately, I think the only long-term solution is for Israel to actually outright win over Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, who is now linked up with Hamas, and then you can settle terms in a way that will actually be acceptable to both sides. The fact that the world community keeps coming... Go ahead.
I was going to say that I fear Lisa is on the right track. I think it's the wrong track, but I think she's right that Netanyahu will take some middle ground when he could just demolish Hamas. We'll come back, part 2 of the panel. If you'd like to weigh in, ladies and gentlemen, through social media, here's how you might do it.
Stop! Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
That was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the 2 main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
Call right now to get your free Senior Care Compass ebook. Find out about the 5 best-kept secrets on financing senior care and assisted living.
To find out more, call 800-263-4151. That's 800-263-4151.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. Fighting between Ukrainian government forces and pro-Russian separatists resumed today after a 10-day ceasefire ended. The separatists were able to capture the Interior Ministry headquarters in a major city after a gunfight that lasted hours. Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko says the opposition did not take the peace talks seriously. And Russian President Vladimir Putin made a stern vow to protect Russia outside of his country today. Putin says he will use all possible means provided by international law to protect the rights of Russians living in the Ukraine. American and European leaders are urging Moscow to find a peaceful resolution. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, welcome back. More with the Malzberg panel. Senior analyst for Lignet, Lisa Ruth, and founder of Less Government, Seton Motley. What you just heard Francesca talk about, Lisa, Vladimir Putin's vow to protect Russians wherever he can, wherever the law allows, and also the end of the 10-day ceasefire. Where are we with this? Are we kind of back to square one in a sense?
In many ways, yes, I would think so. Although I don't think it's terribly surprising here. You know, Putin has made it very clear from the beginning, to the point of invading Ukraine, or whatever wording you want to use, and Georgia. I do think this sets up again, this is a reminder, he's not backing down. Ukraine is in a very difficult situation. The crisis has not gone away, although we've been distracted by Iraq. And I do think Putin will continue to protect Russians overseas. There's just no question.
All right, well, let's move back a little closer to here, Seton. And there's a report out today from the Inspector General with regard to Obamacare, and coverage for about 2.6 million people are now in jeopardy because this Inspector General has found widespread flaws when it comes to gauging and finding out wages of people, accurate wages, of qualifications for subsidies, qualifications for the health care plan they've chosen. 2.9 million people in question with this problem, or one of those problems at least, and 2.6 of the 2.9 million people, they can't figure it out. They might all lose any coverage they have. And this is not being reported anywhere. This is just a disaster that continues and continues.
It's a slow motion train wreck, and those of us who are watching it have to endure it while most of America is not given the information. It almost sounds like the website didn't work, because I would imagine a well-built website would be able to properly delineate, based upon the information you give, what subsidies for which you qualify, what plans you qualify. But none of this seems to have happened under the Obamacare website. Look, the government, it's been said all over the internet. The government loses 2 years worth of emails because they can't back up the servers at the IRS. But they're going to A, build a Obamacare website that's going to work, B, manage the millions of people that come in and determine what they can and can't qualify for, and then C, of course, on a separate note, they're just going to commandeer control of the internet, because they're the experts on all things World Wide Web.
Right.
It's a disaster. It's going to continue to be a disaster until we can repeal it. And any Republican who's given up on doing that is a clown, because they first proposed national health care in 1945 under Truman. They've been very patient to get here. We need to be a little more patient to get rid of it.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. I'm with you, but it's going to take Republicans with the guts to, first of all, do it, and also with the political power to do it. Lisa Ruth and Seton Motley, thank you both for being on the panel. We appreciate it. See you soon. And yeah, folks, you know, this is just something that you're not going to hear about on the nightly news. Well, you don't hear about the IRS scandal on a nightly basis either, do you? So don't expect to hear about this. But they're severely under their goal for brand new brand new enrollees. In other words, people who never had health care before, severely under that number. That's not reported either. We'll have more on that. And we'll be right back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. But first, today's American Moment, taking a look at President Nixon's 1972 trip to China.
His presidency was one of the most vexing in American history. Mention the name Richard Milhous Nixon, and some will always remember him as the president who resigned over Watergate. But many others will credit him with one of the greatest diplomatic achievements, the reestablishment of relations between the United States and the People's Republic of China.
As I have pointed out on a number of occasions over the past 3 years, there can be no stable and enduring peace without the participation of the People's Republic of China and its 750 million people.
For 25 years, diplomatic relations between the two great nations had chilled, following the United States' decision to recognize Taiwan as the legitimate government of China. President Nixon and his then National Security Advisor, Dr. Henry Kissinger, reached out to his communist adversary to change that.
The meeting between the leaders of China and the United States is to seek the normalization of relations between the two countries, and also to exchange views on questions of concern to the two sides.
On February 21st, 1972, President Nixon, along with his wife Pat, arrived in Beijing. He was feted by the Chinese and honored by no less a figure than Chairman Mao himself. Richard Nixon's opening of China to the West has been described as genius, the boldest diplomatic move on the global chessboard in a century. In one stroke, Nixon had separated communist China from the Soviet Union, reducing the power of the communist bloc and paving the way for the eventual end of the Cold War. For Newsmax TV, I'm Bill Curtis, and this is an American Moment.
If you want to shed the fat and sculpt your core to get those sexy toned abs of your dreams, then stop doing sit-ups. Say what? And start dancing with Hip Hop Abs, the fun new ab sculpting system from Insanity creator Sean T.
I don't want you to ever get down on the floor to do crunches again. I'm gonna break it down so you burn the fat and sculpt those abs fast.
Just do Sean's easy to follow moves to work your upper abs, middle abs, lower abs, and obliques, all while you're dancing.
I went from a size 18 to a size 2. I have abs now. I've got a six-pack.
And now the complete $80 Hip Hop Abs system is 75% off. That's right, Hip Hop Abs is only $19.95. We'll even upgrade you to express shipping free. Get the complete Hip Hop Abs system for only $19.95.
Call 1-800-488-9042 or order online at gethiphopabs.com. 1-800-488-9042.
If you want an adjustable bed, shop by phone and save on a new Craftmatic, the best-selling adjustable brand ever. Call for prices and free information. There's no obligation. Our everyday low prices are guaranteed. Compare us to the leading memory foam brand and save hundreds, even $1,000 or more. Discover our 30-day in-home trial. We won't be undersold. There's no hassle, no pressure, no pain. No salesman will come to your home. Convenient delivery, installation, and in-home service in the continental U.S. Watch TV, read, eat, rest, and relax at the touch of a button. Enjoy personal heat and soothing massage at a price you can afford. So why consider anything else? Discover Craftmatic for less, up to 50% less. Call for prices and free information and save hundreds, even $1,000 or more on luxurious memory foam. There's no obligation. Call now. Call 1-800-686-3106. That's 1-800-686-3106. Call 1-800-686-3106. Call now.
Hi, my name is John Bachman. I'm 34 years old, and I'm an anchor at Newsmax TV, and there's no place else I'd rather be. There is so much gloom and doom out there right now. People want to talk about problems, but that's changing. The conversation is changing. People want to talk now about solutions, and that is what Newsmax offers. I mean, if there's somebody who is going to contribute something to the conversation, we're going to try to talk to them.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
No, I think we have been under serious threat my entire presidency. They're gaining strength in some places. We've seen Europeans who are sympathetic to their cause traveling into Syria and now may travel into Iraq, getting battle-hardened. Now we're spending a lot of time, and we have been for years, making sure that we are improving intelligence so that we can respond to that. And there are going to be times where we take strikes against organizations that could do us harm.
All right, folks, the president talking about the security threats that we face, of course, sugarcoating it a little bit. Nonetheless, it is out there, and we're joined right now, I'm happy to say, by Brian Zimmer. He's president of the Coalition for a Secure Driver's License, and he's also the former senior investigator for the House Judiciary Committee. And Brian, welcome. Good to see you.
Pleasure to be here.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about, before we get to the driver's license, I think that's very, very important because it's all the same here. It all segues right into it. ISIS, and we've heard, last week we heard from Mike Rogers about these people. A lot of them are Europeans. They went over there. They have visa passports. They could get into Western countries, and they could come here without a visa. How big a threat is it to our homeland, not to our interests overseas, but to our homeland, that ISIS is doing what they're doing and succeeding the way they're succeeding?
I think it's a huge threat, and the threat in terms of when it's going to be realized is probably a year and a half away, although there may be some lone wolves in the meantime that come wandering back.
Why do you say a year and a half away?
Because it'll take them about a year to a year and a half to establish their caliphate, which they will. It's being backed by very rich people in the Middle East and other countries. Those people, although some of them are religiously motivated, many of them are getting paid cold hard cash for that activity from certain Middle Eastern countries that would like to see the Shia pushed back. And the result is you have a lot of young men who previously were just young men we might know in the neighborhood, but now they're being trained, they're being put into combat, they're helping carry out retaliatory acts against Shiites, cutting their heads off, as we've seen on television or heard about. So they're going to get very hard.
And they're training, and once they're set up with their caliphate, then they have they could relax, so to speak, take a deep breath, and start setting their sights on what they could do here.
Well, this group had a severance. They were originally sponsored by Al-Qaeda, and in February, the leader of Al-Qaeda broke ties with them because they couldn't stay where he thought they should be, which was in Iraq. And in particular, they announced they were going to conduct operations worldwide.
Let me just interrupt you a second, because the popular media refrain is they were kicked out of Al-Qaeda because they were too violent. And I keep saying, Al-Qaeda's not just as violent? I mean, what happened at the World Trade Center? What happened to Daniel Pearl? What happened to, like Al-Qaeda is, well, they're violent, but they're not as violent. I hate when the media tries to make that distinction.
Well, that's part of the media, the part that's influenced by the White House and influenced by the president's vision. His vision is that Muslims are 99.9% great people. And so there's this little statistical problem with that in the Middle East right now. In the interview that you began the show with, he couldn't say the word jihadist. He talked about those people. Well, there's a lot of them. There's thousands. There's 2,000 hardcore fighters in ISIS. They keep emphasizing that. Well, if you think you can overrun a country the scale of 2/3 of Iraq with 2,000 people, then you're as naive as the people that seem to follow this line of reasoning. Okay, the numbers are much, much larger. We don't really know. I'm sure the intelligence people know. After this interview, General Hayden was on another show later in the day where he said that the intelligence people hadn't been able to get their message through to the president or to other people. So the intelligence community, quote unquote, that part of it that studies foreign fighters, probably is a pretty good estimate, but we're not going to know that for a long time. Probably after the next event here in the United States, when we'll have a new discovery that because we knew it all the time, but somehow we didn't do enough about it.
So are we less safe now, in your view, than when you left your position with the House Judiciary Committee in 06?
Much, because we've had, frankly, 6 years of benign neglect on a whole variety of things. The interesting thing is that President Obama's subordinates in key agencies seem to be wakening up, and there's been some personnel changes for the better. Whether he was aware of them or not, I don't know. But the thing is, there clearly are some stronger people moving into some positions. I think the new Secretary of Homeland Security seems to have a great deal more awareness and fortitude than the lady he replaced.
Let's talk about the Coalition for a Secure Driver's License, and of which you are the president. And let's talk about what's going on at the border. I mean, this is and what it relates to what we just talked about here. But let's specifically talk about the driver's licenses, because once you have a driver's license, you could do anything. Basically, I mean, you have freedom to roam, you have freedom to open bank accounts. You could, I mean, you know better than I what you have freedom to do. So, what is your organization trying to do, and why is it so important?
What our organization is trying to do is encourage, as we can, through good information, education, outreach, people in the state offices, the state agencies, to allow the people in the DMV to do their job well. The DMVs across the country are largely staffed by conscientious people. That's why they hassled you the last time you went to
I was going to say, long lines, they must be conscientious, right?
Well, but part of the long lines really is because most of the driver's license agencies are used by their state governments as cash cows, so they're understaffed. These long lines could be resolved with better staffing. And that secondarily, there's the conflict, which is as you ramp up the security to confirm you are who you say you are.
Takes longer.
And by the way, the DMVs are doing that to keep drunk drivers off the road and to protect people from identity theft. They're not thinking about terrorism. A few might be, but their routine, they're dealing with the people they encounter that are trying to game the system. Usually are not good people.
Right.
And so they're trying to defend against crooks and what people might call scumbags and others who are trying to manipulate the system.
So what's going on around the country here, and what's your, because more and more states are granting driver's licenses to illegals?
Well, that is a problem in itself because they're essentially endorsing a violation of law. But that's an issue that our president has endorsed. He, in his campaign, spoke to the fact that he supported that when he was running for election. So obviously the federal government isn't going to do anything about that particularly. So I think there's, first of all, our organization does not oppose providing lower tier driver's licenses to people who can't produce all the qualifications for that. It could be a homeless person. It doesn't need to be an illegal alien who's lost all of his or her documents. But we think those, when you aren't sure who the person is, then we think states should conform with the federal law and says not for federal identification purposes, because the feds have their standards, which were incorporated into a law called the Real ID Act and the Real ID regulations. So the states, some of the states have higher standards than the federal standards. Iowa, Kansas, actually North Dakota have higher standards than the federal standards. But the point is, if you're going to be below those federal standards, then you need to mark the driver's license not for federal identification purposes. And California just had a big battle about that. They told the federal government they weren't going to do that, and the federal government is in the process of making them do that. So while California is going to issue driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants, and probably people who claim to be undocumented immigrants that are actually just lost their driver's license for other reasons. But they will have to mark on them not for federal identification purposes, and on the face of it. California was trying to propose they put a little sign on it and put a little tag on the back. And by the way, that's a problem for other states, because we don't think about it, but there's a master agreement currently in some states change called the driver's license agreement, which is sanctioned under the interstate compact laws of the federal government.
If it's good in one state, it's good in the other.
Another, absolutely. So when you start having various states that miss the mark, that have really low standards, then it creates problems in other states.
But and we only have a couple of minutes left. How much of a security issue is this this issue of driver's licenses to illegals when it comes to the threat of terror?
Very high. I brought some specific instances. Perhaps some other day we get back and talk to nitty-gritty, but there have been a number of very serious threats. There was an effort made by a lone wolf terrorist to blow up a 40-story tower in Dallas, Texas. He needed his driver's license to buy the explosive materials. Explosives in this country are controlled by driver's licenses. So if you want to buy explosives, you have to provide a driver's license. Okay, you can connect the dots there real fast. Okay, if you want to rent a truck, okay, the Oklahoma City bombing, he didn't use his own driver's license. He used a counterfeit driver's license.
And the rent-a-car down in the first World Trade Center bombing as well comes to mind. Yeah.
Right, that was a driver's license connection here in town with that. So the subway bomber that was stopped, the Zazi group that were local New Yorkers, they went to Colorado, they brought back explosive cursors. Again, they were traced through their driver's license records.
How could folks find out more about your organization?
www.idsecuritynow.org.
Okay, idsecuritynow.org. And Brian Zimmer, great. Keep up the fine work. We'll speak to you again soon. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you for having me on the show,
My
Steve.
pleasure. Folks, you can see how these issues are interconnected. You know, whether it's what's going on with ISIS and the threat of them coming in here once the caliphate is set up, as Brian alluded to, or whether it's the driver's license issue, or whether it's, which we didn't get into as much, the kids on the border, which is just another symptom, another created, I guess, a security threat by this administration, indicating to parents all over the world that, hey, if you could get your kids here, there's a chance at least that they'll stay here. So it's all intertwined, and it all affects one thing, and that's our security. And we can't even secure the border. So how are we going to fix all this? Okay, when we come back, Give Me 5 is next. Don't go away, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Great Recession and the financial crisis are finally over. The stock market is way up, and that means that now all senior homeowners are financially secure. Happy days are here again. Well, that's what they keep telling us, right? But if you're a senior, 62 or over, have you recovered financially? Have you magically replaced all your retirement money? Are you suddenly all set for retirement? With a government-backed reverse mortgage, you'll never make another mortgage payment again. Instead, you'll receive money in any number of different ways that you choose. The money you get is tax-free, and there are no restrictions on how to use it. With an all-new and improved reverse mortgage, you always retain ownership of your home, so you can age in place gracefully. And your mortgage does not have to be paid off to qualify.
It makes life much easier. That was the best thing I've ever done.
Call 1-800-548-6498, 1-800-548-6498.
Victims of mesothelioma and lung cancer caused by asbestos and their families may be entitled to receive a cash award from over $18 billion in asbestos trust funds now available. If you or a loved one was diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by asbestos, call the number on your screen now. Even if a loved one has passed due to mesothelioma or asbestos lung cancer, you may still be entitled to a cash award. Mesothelioma is a rare cancer caused by exposure to asbestos. Many victims were in the Navy, shipyards, or power plants, or worked in the construction, plumbing, insulation, or automotive trades. Many more were exposed in and around their homes. For nearly 30 years, we have successfully helped thousands of victims and families get the financial compensation they deserve. Time is limited. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by exposure to asbestos,
call 1-800-290-4243 now.
At 69, I'm starting a whole new chapter in my life.
Lifestyle Lift, a life-changing procedure that helps remove wrinkles, frown lines, and sagging skin on your face and neck.
I have a younger look and a new look on life.
Look, almost 200,000 lives changed. Lifestyle Lift is the affordable way to looking years younger.
Nothing's better than a Lifestyle Lift.
Don't miss your chance for your free skin firming treatment. Call now because this amazing offer ends soon.
Every time I see somebody, you look so good, you just never age, I go, oh, thank you for that. You know?
Would you feel good looking younger and more attractive?
I haven't felt this good in years.
My name is Cindy. I'm 56, but nobody needs to know.
Don't miss your chance for your free skin firming treatment. Call now because this amazing offer ends soon.
Call now, 800-599-0771.
Don't regret looking older than you feel.
We're the stronger than we look type. The braver than you think type. The type that's sure the time will come when we put type 1 behind us. We're the progress is inevitable type. The rise to every challenge type. The type that knows bit by bit the future is certain to get better. We're the plan for a cure type. The improved life along the way type. The type that will stop at nothing. Absolutely nothing. Until type 1 becomes type none.
I don't consider myself an enemy of the press whatsoever, but I do consider myself to be an untrained D student who happened to get lucky, but who happens to know a few things and now has the ability to shout down the street, extra, extra, this just in.
All right, folks, who is that man with the hat? That's Matt Drudge. Welcome to Gimme 5. We don't often hear from Matt Drudge or see Matt Drudge, especially recently. That was from 1998 at the National Press Club when Matt Drudge took questions after making a speech. And that was really, one of the last times until recently that we heard from him. Here's some more from that time.
You know, fame for fame's sake is, always leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And you have to give them something they haven't heard. There has to be a reason they'll come to your website. If it's just made-up fantasies, why bother? You know, if I'm so bad and if I'm so useless and I'm just a gossip hound, why was Sidney Blumenthal reading me the night before his first day at the White House? I don't quite understand that. It seems to me I'd spend my time over at the New York Times, who gets everything right.
All right, and Matt Drudge, that lasted about an hour. The speech, the question and answer, and at this stage he talked about how he started from very humble beginnings. He had some experience, he knew what he was doing, but he wanted to be in media. He knew he'd never get a press credential and get interviews with the big shots, so he started his website. And lo and behold, you know what the rest of the story is. But he was on WTOP radio last Friday. I don't know if he called in or it was a prearranged interview, but he spoke. And anytime Matt Drudge speaks, it's kind of interesting, and I thought you might want to hear it. Here's some of what he had to say.
Thank goodness for some gridlock. Can you imagine what would be happening if there was no gridlock? I don't know. Well, we're about to get another election here. Will people vote exactly as they did last time? Probably. Maybe we'll get the same exact results. Wouldn't that be ironic if America doesn't want things changed? You know, the argument here is, keep changing it, keep changing it. Well, maybe the elections tell us they don't want change. They like the gridlock, so I don't know. I'm more obsessed with what's going on with the border these days. I know it's not an immediate issue here unless we start getting some of the immigrant shipments in, and there's been talk to bring some to Washington. I know there's big fights throughout the country. Virginia just said, no, do not bring immigrants here from the border in mass.
Yeah. So he was talking a little bit about immigration. He was talking about gridlock in D.C. And then, here he's talking about the hot summer ahead and how it's going to be hot in a lot of ways.
These are very hot, spicy issues. We're into an interesting summer here. We're only about a week old into it. I'm sensing some heat, and not just from the temperature outside. I think things are heating up in many respects.
And of course, when it's hot, Matt Drudge gravitates towards heat, as he explains here on WTOP Radio.
The country is divided. All of these polls are always divided. Look at Capitol Hill is divided. How can you say the airwaves or the website should not be divided? We are. However, I go where the heat is. I'm a heat-seeking missile. I will go where the action is, sometimes before it's cool to do it. That's why I get in trouble. I make waves, I don't surf them, as I used to say. So that is not easy in this atmosphere with so many media outlets.
All right, and finally, Matt Drudge talks about the speech he gave 20 years ago, actually a little less than 20 years ago, the 16 years ago or so, in the National Press Club, which you heard a little bit of at the beginning. Here he alludes to it in this final remark.
So I gave a press club speech here 20 years ago, and I said it was fun when one person was screaming extra, extra down the street. What happens when you have millions of people? It's a little psychotic right now, the news business, because everybody's doing everything. But that still doesn't mean there are not important events. There's information coming all of the time. You think of what's just happened this year. The news has been so dynamic, internationally and domestic. This is a vibrant era of media. It's not going in any way anytime soon, and I approach it every time I get in front of a computer as this is exciting. This is not old. This is not boring. This is a vibrant period, and the more people involved, the better.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the news we had yesterday. Every hour, another breaking story. Supreme Court decisions, the president announcement on immigration, and the Drudge Report, an institution. And Matt Drudge is too. On the Steve Malzberg Show.
Can you really lose weight without changing your lifestyle? LaToya Q did. In fact, in just 5 months, she lost nearly 2 pounds a week without changing the way she dieted or exercised.
I lost 36 pounds and I went down 4 dress sizes.
Like so many people, LaToya didn't want to change her lifestyle to lose weight. Instead, she decided to take America's #1 selling diet pill, Lipozene.
People kept asking me, you have to be exercising. You're really you just don't want to tell us what you're doing. I was like, no, I don't have time to go to a gym. I just took Lipozene and I started seeing results immediately.
Lipozene has now sold over 20 million bottles. That's because Lipozene really works. And to prove it, we conducted our very own double-blind clinical study where all we asked people to do was take Lipozene. And by just taking Lipozene, they lost weight. But here's where it gets really exciting. These people were not asked to change their diet or exercise. And 78% of the weight they lost was pure body fat. Not water, fat.
I'm almost back down to my high school weight, so I'm really loving that.
And for even faster results, you can try Lipozene with moderate diet and exercise.
Feels great to have a six-pack. I didn't think I would have it at my age.
I lost 7 inches off of my waist and I lost 2 dress sizes, and I feel amazing.
Now you can join the millions of people who have lost weight with Lipozene by trying it risk-free for only $29.95. Lipozene is guaranteed to help you lose weight or your money back.
Lipozene, it works.
But wait. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll double your order absolutely free. Plus, we'll even pay for your shipping. But that's still not all. To celebrate selling over 20 million bottles of Lipozene, the company will give you a free bottle of Metabo Up with your order. That's a $20 value free. But you must call right now because this exclusive free offer is not available in stores.
Call 1-800-509-9436. That's 1-800-509-9436.
I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. President Obama is facing demands for strong action on the escalating immigration crisis. Thousands of children continue crossing into the U.S. from the southern border, fleeing violence in Central America and Mexico. The president declared plans to take executive action on the issue in an address yesterday. Republican opponents contend the president is abusing his power by sidestepping Congress to make reforms. And hundreds of Americans gathered to remember 3 fallen Israeli teens. Mourners gathered for a special memorial service in New York, reciting prayers in English and Yiddish. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing a swift and tough response to those responsible for the deaths. Israeli authorities recovered the bodies yesterday after searching for weeks. Meanwhile, hundreds of protesters gathered in Jerusalem calling for revenge for the slain youths. The demonstration called for the Israeli government to increase military action across Hamas. Some protesters chanted "Death to Arabs" and "Arabs out." Hamas publicly praised the abduction of the Israeli teens, but hasn't taken responsibility for it. And a federal judge struck down Kentucky's same-sex marriage ban. U.S. District Judge John G. Hayburn says the state's ban violates the Equal Protection Clause in the United States Constitution. Hayburn previously struck down another Kentucky law that banned recognizing same-sex marriages from other states and countries. The ruling is currently on hold. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, we're going to talk to Brad Thor. We're going to have Gimme 5. It's going to be an exciting hour. But in just a moment, we're going to play an interview that I had a chance to do the other day. And I got to tell you, this is an amazing interview with Monsignor Hilary Franco, Assistant to Bishop Fulton J. Sheen, Advisor to the Permanent Observer of the Holy See to the United Nations. I had the pleasure to talk with him about his efforts to make Bishop Fulton a saint in the Roman Catholic Church, and not just his efforts. This is apparently very, very close to taking place, very, very close to happening. And I just sat here mesmerized by the interview with the Monsignor. And we start the interview, for those of you who don't know, the bishop had a TV show that had millions and tens of millions of viewers. And we start with a clip from that TV show. And as you watch this clip coming up, leading into the interview with the Monsignor, you will be riveted. I guarantee that you will be riveted, as I was watching this for the first time. And it's really a treat. So sit back, enjoy the clip here, and then we'll talk to the Monsignor. Enjoy.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
All of our choices and decisions that have gone into the making of our personality will come out in a crisis, and a crisis is coming upon us. There is not much peace outside of us, and the only real peace that we can be sure of is the peace that is on the inside. And when we are building our character, we need some model on the outside, someone with justice and mercy and goodness and a spirit of sacrifice will inspire us to tear off these chunks of selfishness that we may be like unto him. For as he said, I have given you an example. May all the American characters begin to emerge now under the grace of God, as we continue to be a great nation, loving one another in a spirit of charity, loving God who made us and blessed us. God love you.
And that is from Life is Worth Living, and you can't help but be moved just by that short clip that we are viewing. And joining us now is Monsignor Hilary Franco. He was assistant to Bishop Fulton J. Sheen and advisor, permanent observer of the Holy See to the United Nations. Monsignor, it is an honor for me to shake your hand, sir.
It's a pleasure to see you in person, well, Steve, because I see you all the time on television, but this is different.
Thank you very much. All right, I know you were watching it, and you were taking great pleasure in watching the man that you served with and were assistant to for how many years?
Well, I was with him and lived with him for 5 years, but I was also his, we call it peritus at the Second Vatican Council. So I've been working for him during my kind of free time before being with him, because I'm the last surviving member of the household of Bishop Fulton J. Sheen. We lived here, not far from here, 109 East 38th Street. Wow. And our office was at 366 Fifth Avenue. So this is my neighborhood, you know, with the bishop.
Yeah, you're right.
Bishop Fulton J. Sheen, and I naturally, most of the time, I was always in the studio where he would telecast. As you do know, we had the show. Relatively
millions and millions and millions of people.
We had a small audience of 40 million people. You know, prime time.
And that's back then.
Yes.
I mean, that was you dominated.
That well, together with Milton Berle, they used to say Uncle Fulty and Uncle Milty.
No disrespect intended, I'm sure. Now the effort underway to make him a saint in the Roman Catholic Church. How far along is that effort?
Well, Steve, I'm very, very happy to say that we're almost there, in the sense that, as you do know, there are two main steps, like to be declared a blessed and then a saint. We are almost near the beatification of Fulton J. Sheen, because the miracle has been approved by the Medical Commission and by the Theological Commission. So now it's actually up to the Holy Father, Pope Francis, to decide when we are going to have the beatification ceremony. Then we will need another miracle, probably yours and mine, never know, for
I was going to say, I thought it takes two, right, for the canonization.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, not really. One would be enough, even for the canonization.
Okay.
You know, one for the beatification, another one
for the canonization.
For the canonization. Yes.
And when this happens, and you are there to watch it, as I'm sure you will be, I can't imagine how full of pride and you will be.
And well, I have to say that I'm just back from Rome. I was there for the canonization of the two great pontiffs.
Yes. What an event that was!
Historic. You have two popes living and two popes whom I had served, both of them. John the 23rd, Saint John the 23rd. You know, during the council, I was Peritus during the council. And then John Paul II. I worked for 26 years in the Vatican between Paul VI and John Paul II. So I was very, very close to, especially to John Paul.
So many people are familiar with Archbishop Fulton through the TV show and through the legend. But tell us something that maybe people don't know. Tell us something about the man that people might love to hear but don't know.
Well, there are so many things. You know, actually, Steve, I have to tell you that I could talk about Bishop Sheen until probably 3 days or 4 days from now without stopping. But there are, just to tell you something, we usually walked to 366 Fifth Avenue. You and I would take about probably 5-7 minutes. Not with the bishop, because they would stop him and say, the thrill of my life. And he was so humble, because he would abide, you know, well, may I take it? That's why I don't have many pictures with him, because wherever we went across the globe, because we would go elsewhere, not only in the United States, naturally, for meetings or retreats and whatever, 18 times. I went to Ireland with him, you know, just to give you a glimpse, not to speak about Rome, naturally, the meetings. He would always abide immediately. He would say, well, why not? We can take a picture at any time, you know, with the bishop. And who would take the picture? But I would say, Father, can you take a picture? Can you take a picture with the bishop? So I would be the one taking the picture, but not being in the picture.
Right. So that you don't have any pictures with them.
Very few pictures.
But you do have hundreds of pages of writings, and you brought some with you. What for instance, might that be?
Well, this is really interesting. I am finally. This is long overdue, because I was so busy doing other things. But finally, I have come to publish eventually this year or in a month or so.
Your memoirs.
My memoirs with the bishop. And also, I have to tell you that I'm very proud of the fact that he wrote to me handwritten letters. I have over 100 of them.
Wow, that's great.
To me, that's the greatest treasure that I have.
Sure.
And where you have actually the history of the post-conciliar church and the post-conciliar nation of the United States, written here, you know, in these. So I will try to make the people understand how precious was the influence of this man, not only on the church. Some people might say, well, the church, yes, of course, naturally.
Because of his position, sure.
Because of his position, because of his influence, you know, in the mass media and so on and so forth. But
what else? Where else is it realized?
The country really was a completely different country, as you can see. You saw it before. We saw the little bit of clip gave us an idea how much in love was with his own country, America, and how much he wanted that country to be saved, you know, under the guidance of God Almighty, you know. But this is really interesting. For instance, this one.
Please.
This one is. It's interesting how it was so precise. We're talking about June 1971. He had just discovered That was a long time before you were born.
No.
But I'm just saying, he had just discovered that I had been made a Monsignor. So look at this. He said, "My dear Father Franco," and then he adds in red, Monsignor. the delicate touch of this
He
man.
went through such trouble to do that, to change the pen color and everything.
And whatever is contained in some of these letters are really, I share them on other television shows, like a glimpse of some of these letters, and I have to say that they're really, really
For instance,
telling us
besides
the
the
story.
congratulations, what else?
Well, he's talking about
Yeah.
the church in the United States, and he was talking about the bishops' meeting. Were very interesting. This is May 10, 1971. It tells us what the bishops were doing at that time to bring about the social issues.
So to look back, it's a history lesson.
It's a whole history of the nation, too.
I can't wait to see your memoir.
It's incredible, you know, how this thing really became. So,
what would he say about where we are as a nation today?
Steve,
and I don't mean to make it political. You take it wherever you want to take it.
Steve, well, let me be very frank. My name is Franco, so I have to be frank. You know, I feel that Bishop Sheen would repeat the same things that he said so many, I would say 4 decades ago. You know, he said it in such a way that really today they look like they were written or they proclaimed those words right now, at this very moment. I think he was against the war in Vietnam, for instance, at that time, and he said it publicly. He would always come up and say whatever he felt. Definitely, he would say a few things about the church that we don't like, you know, at times. Certainly, he would talk about the abuse of children and so on and so forth in a very strong way, because that was his way, but also about this country, our beloved country. Well, right now we are here at the United Nations, you know, we are dealing with the problem of Iraq. What are we going to do? You have the two
Sunni, Shia,
the Sunnis and the Shiites, you know, but are we doing anything? Are we going to do anything? You know, I know that the government is in
sectarian problems. The world hasn't changed all that much in reality from back then to now, is what you're actually saying.
Exactly.
In his writings, which were prophetic, and in reality on the ground, I guess.
It's interesting how when I received these letters, Steve, you know, I read them naturally with great attention at the time, but we're talking about the 70s, you know.
Yeah, no, but like you said, a lot of it carries over.
Right.
Monsignor, I could talk to you all day. You said you could talk about that for 3-4 days. I could talk about this with you all day, and I thank you so much for coming up.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Okay,
Monsignor Hilary Franco, ladies and gentlemen, assistant to Bishop Fulton J. Sheen, and advisor, permanent observer of the Holy See to the United Nations. What a pleasure, and I can't wait for his memoirs to come out right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention parents and grandparents of young children. Have you received this special notice from Gerber Life? If not, you're urged to call this toll-free number now, because Gerber Life is accepting applications for their affordable grow-up plan. It's easy to help your child get off to a good financial start for just pennies a day. Free information will be sent to parents and grandparents who call now. Or you can apply right now over the phone if you'd like. The Grow Up Plan gives your child $10,000 in whole life insurance protection now, then doubles automatically to $20,000 later at no extra cost. Later on, your child can buy more, up to $100,000 in total protection, regardless of their health or job, 10 times the original amount. The Grow Up Plan also builds cash value over time that you can borrow from later. Help give your child a head start for just pennies a day. Don't wait. Call now for free information.
Call 1-800-417-7939. Call now for your free information or go to growupplan.com now.
Hi, I'm Mike Reagan. If you're a senior or baby boomer, you may be missing out on some important information. Tens of millions of boomers are set to retire, yet many don't know that how you file your Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect. That's why Newsmax created a special report offering you the best strategies to maximize your Social Security benefits. For example, this report reveals a weird trick that could help you add up to $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. It also shows how some qualifying recipients can add up to $1,000 to their monthly payments. To get your copy with our free offer, along with 7 additional money-making booklets, simply go online. Newsmax says this report is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to our website today and find out if you qualify to add extra money to your Social Security. Remember, it's your money. You deserve the most back in your retirement.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, get ready to be thrilled. That's because we are joined right now by a terrorism expert, multiple New York Times #1 best-selling author, and his latest thriller, Act of War. You see it on the screen right there. I do have it in my hand, but they decided to put it up on the screen. Brad Thor, great to see you.
Great to see
Thanks
you, too.
for coming up. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So, you know, there's a CIA agent in this book that gets in all kinds of trouble. He's gone. Someone comes forward. They don't know if the government doesn't know if they could trust what this person's saying. Correct. And then the president gets into it. I don't want to ask you right off the bat, what if Obama were that president? What would happen? And probably the answer is nothing. So there'd be no book. 2 pages. Goodbye. Yeah. But very exciting book. And as always, you know, there's this element of it could really happen in it.
Absolutely. I call what I write faction, and it's heavily based in reality. You don't know where the facts end and the fiction begins. Right. And so the entire book is actually based off of a plan that a foreign nation has called unrestricted warfare. There's actually a white paper out there with a nation that realizes they can't meet us on the conventional battlefield and they want to collapse us from within. So that, for me, as a thriller writer, is fun material. I like to base it in as much reality as possible.
And it is based in a lot of reality. Man, I don't know the specific country and I don't know the specific white paper, but I'm sure it's out there on multiple levels, especially when it comes to, you know, Islamic terrorists and the Muslim Brotherhood in general. And many people think they're working from within, using our laws to take advantage of our generosity, if you will, and our freedoms to bring us down from within.
Absolutely. And that's referred to by Frank Gaffney and others, Robert Spencer, as lawfare, as opposed to warfare. Right. So there's all of these things that
peaceful jihad.
There's all these things we take for granted, and that's what this plan, unrestricted warfare, is all about, is to weaponize things that you and I would think are benign, but actually when an enemy would turn them against us, it would lead to the collapse of the United States very rapidly. And so that's the kind of stuff as a thriller author I like to weave into the novels.
And nobody does it better than you. And of course, Chad, my producer, said to your guy who came up here, I'm going on vacation next week. You have an extra book?
Absolutely.
And so folks, you know, I don't have to sell Brad Thor, and if you've ever read any of his books, you know, and the new one is out there, and it's called Act of War. Now let's talk a little bit about what we know is reality. Mm-hmm. You know, this president, what's happened with ISIS and the caliphate that apparently is being built, established from central Iraq right through possibly to you know, to Baghdad, and this president has said, yeah, it poses a threat to us. I had Peter King on yesterday who said it doesn't just pose a threat to our interests overseas, it poses a threat to us because these people have, a lot of the Europeans have gone over there, some Americans have gone over there. They could get back into their own countries and then come here without any scrutiny.
Absolutely. And the problem we have is that this provides a staging ground for them, much the way staging and training grounds, much the way Afghanistan did pre-9/11. So this is a big issue. We have an opportunity to strike at them, but you have a camp here that is afraid of making any more errors. And that's the problem with President Obama, is not only this ridiculous foreign policy that he began his presidency with, that if we extend our hand, they'll unclench their fist, which is absolutely naive, but this idea that, well, we don't want to force any errors, that's bad foreign policy, and it's also bad national security policy.
And now we've sent some more. I mean, look, I'm not saying I want troops, boots on the ground. He said specifically there will be no boots on the ground. He sent us a token force for security. Now he sent some some special forces, breaking his promise. And again, I can't keep up with him. I don't know that what he's doing is any answer. We got to protect our embassy, our people, and we have to have some people on the ground to, if we do ever launch airstrikes, we need intelligence on the ground.
And that's the thing. I'd rather see sandals on the ground as opposed to boots on the ground. And again, the special forces guys serve as a force multiplier. They're excellent at helping develop human networks and gathering intelligence. And when I say sandals on the ground, I want to see CIA guys over there. I want to see them walking around with ammo cans full of money, and I want us to be buying as much intel as we can over there, which is something I hope is going on right now. But a big problem that we had that started under the Carter administration in the intelligence communities was this idea of let's leave it all to technology, let's not take risk. And this has been a deepening problem, particularly at the Central Intelligence Agency, for years. As a matter of fact, I know somebody who left the CIA because the final straw for him was seeing a sign in somebody's cube there that said big ops, big problems, small ops, small problems, no ops, no problems. Wow. And that is not, we particularly with the CIA, there's some great men and women there, but we need a reformation at the CIA to get it back along the lines of its precursor, the OSS.
Absolutely, you would hope. All right, domestically, the Supreme Court last week, well, forget, Hobby Lobby yesterday was 5-4, but Hobby Lobby is another addition to 13 9-0 rulings of the U.S. Supreme Court against this administration and this president when they found that he violated the law, violated the Constitution. 13 9-0 rulings. What does that tell you?
It tells me that this guy who got trumpeted as a constitutional law scholar it's everything we knew going into the first administration and the second. This guy is an empty suit. And if I tried to write a book with all of these scandals, with everything that's gone on, I'd be laughed out of my editor's office.
Nobody would believe it.
Nobody would believe it. Yet what we're seeing is all of the concerns that happened on the right side of the aisle, conservatives in particular, that said this guy is just not qualified for this job. He does not believe in the country as founded. Doesn't believe in the founding documents. We're seeing every single fear brought to light and proven to be true.
I mean, when palled around with terrorists, well, he did. And Sarah Palin was mocked for that, and nobody brought that up. His reverend right, okay? Was he a churchgoer, religious churchgoer, or did he do it for street cred? Either way, he sat in that church, said, I didn't hear all those bad things. And it goes beyond that. I mean, it goes to the Constitution specifically, where he has said before he was elected the first time, it's a flawed document.
Right.
And for a man running for president to say the Constitution is a flawed document, you think that would get laser beam scrutiny, but you know the media.
Well, of course, and one of the other things he said when he was talking about it being a flawed document was that it was a set of negative liberties, where it said it was intended as a restraint on government. But Obama didn't like it because he said it didn't say what government should do for you. And that's the problem. That is the fundamental difference between the left and the right, is this idea of what the government should do for you versus what you should do for yourself. And that is the clash of ideas. And this country has never been this opposed since the Civil War. This is a big, big issue, and I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. This guy's supposed to unite everybody. He was going to be a transformative figure in Washington.
No black, no blue, no red, just
purple.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of malarkey.
It is a bunch of malarkey. I love your candor. I love your passion. I hope you'll come back
I'd be honored to be back.
Skype or phone. I'd love to talk to you again more about current events and round 2 on the book. Thank you very much, Brad.
My pleasure
meeting you.
Thank you.
All right, Brad Thor, ladies and gentlemen. Now I'll hold it up. Let me hold it up. It's Act of War. See, they don't like when I hold it up because the graphics get in the way. I'm perfecting that. Yeah, see, they put it up on screen anyway. All right, folks, The Act of War by Brad Thor. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. You know where it is, only on Newsmax Television.
Do you own mutual funds? You may be paying fees and costs of up to 5% and not even know it. Fisher Investments isn't a mutual fund, and we don't have hidden fees. Do you own an annuity? Your broker may have made a commission of 8% or more when he sold it to you. Are you sure he had your best interests in mind? At Fisher Investments, we're not brokers, and we don't earn commissions on trades or by selling you products. With our model, as your portfolio grows, we grow.
To learn more about the Fisher Investments difference, call the number on your screen now. We'll send you our free DVD, Investing Secrets for 2014, and our special report, The 8 Biggest Mistakes Investors Make. Plus, the first 100 callers get a free 1-year subscription to Fisher Investments Stock Market Outlook, with insights from our company founder and respected market forecaster, Ken Fisher. Be prepared in 2014. Call now 1-800-575-0066. 1-800-575-0066.
Imagine being able to clear your breakouts fast with a revolutionary new acne treatment that's actually good for your skin. Announcing all new Proactive Plus, the combination of acne medicine plus ultra perfecting skincare. Television star Kristen Ritter calls it a miracle.
I love the new Proactive Plus. It's fighting all my breakouts, and my skin is like porcelain.
The results are astonishing. Your skin is not only clear, but smooth and sexy. It's our smartest, fastest, most effective solution ever. And now, new skincare is in every step to balance acne-prone skin with needed hydration and more.
I have to tell you, this is different. Just look at my before and after pictures. That doesn't lie.
So grab your phone and dial the number on your screen now, because today, shipping is free. And get 3 free gifts, a $96 value for just $29.95. Call now.
You will love your skin.
Mom? Mom? Oh, no.
This mom was lucky that her daughter happened to stop by. Can your mom or dad reach a phone in such an emergency? The solution is Life Alert. Life Alert saves a life from a catastrophe every 11 minutes.
Linda, thank you for finding Life Alert for me. I feel much safer having it.
Whenever my mother needed help, Life Alert was there.
Because of Life Alert, my mother's life was saved.
Life Alert definitely saved my mother-in-law's life that day. There's no doubt about it.
We save a life from a catastrophe every 11 minutes. For a free Life Alert brochure, call 800-954-2339. That's 800-954-2339. Call 800-954-2339.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. A controversial law in France was upheld in a European court today. The law bans Muslims in France from wearing traditional veils on the streets. The measure took effect in 2011 and prohibits anyone to hide his or her face in a public place. Critics of the law say this violates freedom of religion for Muslim women. Italian officials report concerts for the arrival of a ship carrying chemical weapons from Syria. The ship is carrying about 1,300 tons of weapons and is expected to arrive within days. The cargo is said to be transferred to an American ship afterward and later destroyed. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, welcome back. In just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Reverend Robert Sirico, and we're going to talk more about the effects that the Hobby Lobby decision will have on religious freedom in this country and where we're headed in the aftermath of that decision. But there's a couple of stories here I want to touch on first. One is, remember the runoff not too long ago, I guess it was a week ago, when Thad Cochran defeated Chris McDaniel. Chris McDaniel refused to concede, and that was the runoff where Democrats played a large part, as they're legally allowed to do, in that runoff, primary runoff. And African Americans also came out and voted for Thad Cochran. So Chris McDaniel in Mississippi, his supporters now say they have already found the 20% of the invalid double votes that they need to invalidate Cochran's runoff victory and force another runoff. Now, what they're claiming is that there are people who voted in the Republican primary who are Democrats, who are allowed to do that, but that they also voted first in the Democratic primary. Okay? And you're not allowed to, you can't vote in both. So now, of course, voter ID, as I made the point to J. Christian Adams, voter ID would go a long way towards, keeping track of who's voting and when and how and where, and make sure the right person is pulling the lever. But of course, that's a racist statement on my part, so I apologize to everybody. Of course, I'm not talking about blacks only. I'm talking about everybody with voter ID. But of course, to want voter ID for everybody is racist. Anyway, so it's going to be very interesting to see if he could force another runoff, if the courts will back that up. And supposedly, the 7,000 vote margin will be invalidated. The votes that were cast by people who voted in both the June 3rd primary, which was the Democratic primary, and then voted again in the runoff. You can't do that. We shall see. And this interesting little story here, a Washington school district has complied with Michelle Obama's lunch rules, and one of the resulting consequences is that they have banned birthday cupcakes. This is out of Linwood, Washington. The First Lady worked with the federal bureaucrats, it says, to strictly limit what types of foods can be served in school cafeterias. Now the Edmonds School District in Washington State and others are cracking down on birthday cupcakes, ladies and gentlemen, and other sugary snacks that students bring from home under a directive from the Federal Lunch Police, according to news reports. And birthday parties in classrooms may be celebrated with non-food treats and favors for students. No food is allowed as part of a birthday celebration, according to a new Edmonds School District policy tied to the federal lunch rules. This according to the Herald. I'm not sure which Herald we're talking about, but I'm reading here from the Herald. Appropriate alternatives to food that may be shared on special occasions can be within the procedures the district website states. Instead of tasty cupcakes, students can now celebrate birthdays with gift pencils, some kind of frogs, and extra recess time. Yay! Well, speaking of food, we'll be back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show, but first, here's Dr. Chauncey Crandall with some cholesterol tips. What a natural segue.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Are you feeling tired, run down, low on energy? Well, you could be just like millions of Americans whose thyroid gland isn't functioning the way it's supposed to. Well, now there's hope to change all of that. Introducing Actilin. Actilin is a premium nutritional supplement designed to support optimal thyroid function. Actilin has 17 powerful ingredients that support adrenal health, thyroid function, energy, and your immune system. Actilin was formulated by the renowned holistic practitioner, Dr. David Brownstein. And now, for a limited time, you can get a free bottle of Actilin with our special offer. You pay only for shipping and handling. Act right now and get Dr. Brownstein's free special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Thyroid. Get Actilin and the special report. Sign up today at getactolin.com. That's getactolin.com. Or call us at the number below.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now. I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
That was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined. I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
You know, part of the reason I was so adamant about including women and girls in our foreign policy, not as a luxury, but as a central issue, is because they're often the canaries in the mine. You watch women and girls being deprived of their rights. Some of them never have them. Some of them lose them. And among those rights is control over their bodies, control over their own health care, control over the size of their families. And it is a disturbing trend that you see in a lot of societies that are very unstable, anti-democratic, and frankly, prone to extremism.
All right, folks, that's Hillary Clinton reacting to the Hobby Lobby case. And while we're efforting Father Robert Sirico, let me weigh in on that. That's perhaps, even though it was presented in a very tempered fashion, didn't seem to be overreactionary, was very low-keyed and very consistent in her tone. She wasn't screaming and yelling. I think that's the most radical reaction I have heard yet. I mean, I've heard, from those on the left, especially it seems to be they're putting the women out there, the Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the president of NOW, and others who are claiming that women are now being denied health care and it's a women's body and, this and that. But for Hillary to go to other countries, to bring other countries in there, because she was Secretary of State, and that's why I don't even know what she means by she tried to, to bring women and girls. I don't even know what she's trying to mean. But in other words, this country is repressive towards women and girls? That's what Hillary Clinton is claiming? If we could replay that one, I want to replay that cut. And I want you to listen to the former Secretary of State, the woman who would be President of the United States, playing the gender card here in an outrageous fashion. I don't care how calm she is. I don't care how matter-of-fact she seems. I don't care how well thought out her answer seems. Listen to the radical thing she's saying here about the United States of America. Why? Because the Supreme Court of the United States narrowly ruled that religious freedom trumps the right of women who work in a certain company to be able to get every abortion pill they want covered by the company who have religious objections. Rather than trumpeting the religious freedom of the United States of America, which I never expected her to do here, she turns it around on its head and puts us in a class, in a category with countries that repress women and worse than just repress women. I want you to listen carefully to what, again, it's important, the former Secretary of State of the United States of America said about that ruling yesterday. Listen.
You know, part of the reason I was so adamant about including women and girls in our foreign policy, not as a luxury, but as a central issue, is because they're often the canaries in the mine. You watch women and girls being deprived of their rights. Some of them never have them. Some of them lose them. And among those rights is control over their bodies, control over their own health care, control over the size of their families. And it is a disturbing trend that you see in a lot of societies that are very unstable, anti-democratic, and frankly, prone to extremism.
All right. So this country is now anti-democratic and prone to extremism against women, according to Hillary Clinton. That is the single most radical reaction I have heard from the left out of all the ones I've heard. Joining us now is Father Robert Sirico. He's Roman Catholic priest and founder of the Action Institute for the Study of Religion and Liberty. And Father, welcome to the show, sir.
Good to be with you. It's the Acton Institute, Lord Acton.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. It is the Acton Institute. My error.
To corrupt.
No, my error. All right. I don't know how much you heard of Hillary's reaction, but regardless if you did or not, the left is out there and they're claiming that this is a continuation, this decision yesterday by the Supreme Court, Father, of a war on women. Rather than trumpeting what this decision means for religious freedom and liberty, they're taking the other side of this, and a side that doesn't even really exist, in my view. What's your read of this?
Well, I concur with you. It's absurd to say that this is an attack on women. It's a politicization of the thing. They want to use this going into the elections. It is about the freedom guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States that government will make no law with regard to religion or the free exercise thereof. Now, how much clearer does it have to be that these people, the Green family who owns Hobby Lobby, simply see this as a violation of their conscience? Now, remember, too, that they provide all contraception for their employees. It's just these 4 abortifacient-type contraceptives, which are really not contraceptives. They prevent the implantation of the fetus. And that is really what it's about, whether or not they have the right not to provide something that violates their conscience.
Yeah, and what we're seeing all over this country, and I would hope that this case might extend to these people who have lost businesses or under the threat of fine have been forced to throw away their religious convictions if they want to keep their businesses. And I'm talking about bakers, I'm talking about photographers, I'm talking about florists in various parts of the country who have refused on religious grounds to provide their services to gay weddings or gay ceremonies, and one would hope that this would extend to them.
Well, I don't know that this particular ruling will extend to them because it's very narrow. It's about closely held corporations, so it's not small businesses, and it's only about as it pertains to this mandate, this executive order of the president. But it seems to me that the precedent certainly clarifies the importance of religious liberty, and it can be applied. Where it will, I think, first apply will be to the religious nonprofits. What they're saying in this case is that you don't have to be a nonprofit in order to create a religious culture or to express one's religious views. You can be a corporate entity if you're privately held and closely held. So I think I think who will benefit immediately from this would be, I would see as the little sisters of the poor.
That was what I was going to bring up next to you, sir. Absolutely.
But the other things you're talking about are very important, but I think they're going to be argued on a different day.
Yeah, no, most probably. Hopefully, though, this will give some indication of how those arguments might go, just as the Little Sisters of the Poor and the other groups who are similar in nature will find justice based on this decision, if this is any indication, because I think that the one you brought up, the nonprofit, that's an easier one, if you will, than this one was.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, these are explicitly religious organizations, though they may have non-religious employees.
Now, when you hear, I don't know if you heard Hillary Clinton, but
I heard part of it.
Yeah, to go beyond, she talked about when she was Secretary of State, how she would be so concerned about women's issues, and what she sees here is that we're moving towards countries that don't treat women equally. I mean, and again, as you pointed out so correctly, this is about 4 pills that are not birth control in the minds of many, and me included. They are abortion pills, so-called abortion pills, and they operate in that manner. And to demagogue this and twist this and turn this into a war against women, and that we're now treating women like some third world country or Sharia law country would treat women is just beyond the pale to me.
Well, one hopes that that's just so obvious to everybody who's listening to this debate. I mean, there are even people who don't have any sensitivities to abortion and birth control who are saying, well, you know, people should have the right to do what they want with their money, with their corporations, and if we don't like that, either we don't work for them or we don't buy their goods and services. By the way, did you know that Hobby Lobby pays above the minimum wage?
Oh, yes, so much above the minimum wage, absolutely.
You don't hear anybody talk about that.
And Father, let me interrupt you and tell you this also, that Hobby Lobby had the option. In court, the Solicitor General argued for the United States in this case that Hobby Lobby could fall into compliance with the Affordable Care Act if they chose to just forego giving all their employees health insurance. Just wipe it all out and don't give them any subsidies for any more to help purchase their own policies. Just forget about it. And Hobby Lobby wouldn't do that. So while you have the left saying, oh my gosh, now they can't get these 4 abortion pills, the same administration that's crying this argued, hey, Hobby Lobby, why don't you just dump all the health insurance and you'll be okay?
And their response was, that would also be against our
religious
principles.
Right. Pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Father, I appreciate you spending time with us, and I hope to speak to you again soon, sir.
Thank you. I'd like that.
Thank you. Father Robert Sirico, and let me get this correct now. He's the president. He's the founder of the Acton Institute.
ACTON.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Thank you very much for correcting me. The
Thank
Acton Institute for the Study of Religion and Liberty here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Check it out. And, you know, just... it's always so comforting to get the perspective of a man of the cloth on something like this after hearing from, you know, everybody but on the other side, everybody making these phony claims, these false claims, these outrageous claims, and thank the Father for coming on with us. All right, folks, we'll be back. You know what's next right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. It's a little segment we like to call Gimme 5, where we go in depth on a subject, play some sound bites and videos, and I give, you know, my little opinion for whatever it's worth. You know, a couple of cents here, a couple of cents there. What's that, just 2 cents? Okay, on the Steve Malzberg Show.
Wayne Allen Root here, former presidential candidate, conservative media personality, and best-selling author, with a shot of economic reality to kick off 2014. First, things are not as bad as they seem. They're worse. Our nation is sinking in debt, spending, taxes, and entitlements. There are no new jobs, and your health insurance is going dramatically higher. Forget stocks, bonds, and savings balances. They'll soon be gutted as the world finally ditches the dollar and turns to more stable currencies like gold. What other currency or asset has risen 300% in the last decade? Gold is like no other money on earth. Call my trusted friends at Swiss America for the full story about the coming gold rush. Gold is wealth insurance against a world full of political deception, ignorance, crisis, and economic disaster. Act now. Ask for my new DVD, The Timeless Truth About Money. It's 100% free.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along, and Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight, and nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind, to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
Learn about our risk-free trial offer at prostaterevive.com/Jim.
Mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at 58 years old.
8 years into the disease was when all the light went out.
For me, it was heart-wrenching.
Looking into the eyes of somebody with Alzheimer's, sometimes you just don't see the person's soul is like gone.
And it takes a toll on everyone. I mean, it's a depressing disease to watch unfold before your eyes.
She actually thought those of us who were caring for her and who loved her most were her worst enemies.
More and more responsibilities fell on my shoulders.
This disease just ravages a family.
It changes your life.
The magnitude of it is indescribable. My mother taught me to be in the moment.
We have to live in the moment with them.
And I'm going to be with that person right now in this moment, wherever she is.
Now is the moment. If we work together, we can stop this epidemic.
Contact Bright Focus and learn more.
But let's be clear, the men who wrote this decision on behalf of the Supreme Court have entered into a war on women. They have become a blatantly politically activist, anti-woman political organization. There are some beliefs that are so heinous that government should not respect them. No way, no how. Apartheid in South Africa was justified on religious grounds. The Southern Baptist Convention justified slavery and later Jim Crow and segregation on religious grounds. We don't accept that as a society anymore, and we should not accept plain out gender bigotry. Withholding basic health care from women is bigotry, plain and simple. We should not accept it, no matter how sincerely the belief is held.
All right, folks, welcome to Give Me Five. Terry O'Neill, the president of the National Organization of Women, comparing this to apartheid in South Africa, the Southern bigotry, and women are being denied birth control and medical treatment, and all that is all nonsense, in my opinion. But she wasn't alone. The left is going crazy. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she weighed in as well.
This is a stifling decision for American women. It's a decision that blocks women from being able to make their own health care decisions, not just reproductive health care decisions, but health care decisions in general.
Really? Women can't make their health care decisions in general because one company or a couple of companies won't give them 4 out of, I think, 25 possible birth control pills? This is demagoguery, it's insanity, it's hysteria, but it continues, and here's more from Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
This is deeply troubling because you have organized religions that oppose health care, period.
Yeah, well, first of all, the fact of the matter is the Supreme Court said this is a very narrow decision. I know they like to, the line of the day and yesterday and into today has been, well, blood transfusions. You know, this religion doesn't believe in blood transfusions. Nobody's taking away blood transfusions. Nobody's taking away anything. And here's I'd like Debbie Wasserman Schultz to explain this. The government said that Hobby Lobby could be in line with the law if they just dumped all health insurance. We heard that from the attorney who represented the Green family in the Hobby Lobby suit before the Supreme Court. The Solicitor General of the U.S. said Hobby Lobby could comply here by dumping all health insurance. Would Debbie Wasserman Schultz have preferred that? More
What should the administration do now? Should they pay for coverage for these individuals who would no longer be covered through their companies, much the same way as individuals, employees of churches and church groups are covered?
Well, I'm confident that the Obama administration is now going to go back and revisit how the rule was issued to attempt to make sure that we can cover all women when they want to make a decision to use birth control.
Yeah, I know, all women. That women can't decide to use birth control now. That's been taken away from them, according to the hysterical left. And here's Nina Totenberg from NPR. Watch.
The court did seem to try to make this as narrow as possible so it wouldn't be opening the floodgates, but it's not 100% clear whether it has done that or not. I think what is pretty clear is that there's at least one justice, just in the majority, Justice Kennedy, who wrote a separate opinion. He signed on in full to this opinion, but he wrote a separate opinion that said, essentially, don't worry, as long as I'm here, the floodgates won't open, and it won't be hundreds and hundreds or thousands and thousands of companies saying, why me? Why should I have to do this, or why should I have to do that?
Right. If it wasn't for Justice Kennedy, women would have no health care whatsoever. Now, Congressman Keith Ellison showed complete, total disrespect to Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. Watch.
These are the most activist judges we've ever seen, whether it's Citizens United or Hobby Lobby, which also came down, or Harris versus Quinn. This Supreme Court is extremely busy and doesn't have much regard for precedent at all. In fact, in this case today, Harris versus Quinn, Alito, Justice Alito, well, it's hard to call him Justice Alito, but Mr. Alito. Mr.
Alito. How about we call you Keith Baby? You like that, Keith Baby? Instead of Congressman? Outrageous. Outrageous on the Steve Malzberg Show.
Falls are the #1 cause of injury to senior citizens. Falling down stairs can be disastrous. Acorn Stairlifts has a solution. Just don't fall. Sit, relax, ride with an Acorn Stairlift, the world's leader in stairlifts. That's right, don't let limited mobility keep you from going up and down your stairs, even outside. Call Acorn Stairlifts now for a free information kit and no obligation quote. Now you can safely ride with your Acorn Stairlift.
Now I don't have to worry about him climbing those stairs again.
And our Acorn Stairlift was very affordable.
Our Acorn Stairlift is definitely more affordable than moving.
The Acorn Stairlift has a padded seat and backrest for maximum comfort. It easily folds up for access to the stairway. 5 safety sensors stop your Acorn Stairlift if there's something in the way. And it even runs during power outages.
And I'm the king of my own castle again.
You'll be working directly with the world's leader in stairlifts. That's right, there's no middleman. Acorn's trained technicians professionally install your stairlift directly to the staircase, in most cases in 2 hours or less, with no need for special construction. We don't leave until you're completely comfortable using your Acorn Stairlift.
Don't risk a serious fall down the stairs.
I was really surprised how little they cost.
Call for your free no-obligation information kit and quote from Acorn Stairlifts. Just don't fall. Safely ride up and down your steps.
Give your life a lift with an Acorn Stairlift.
Call 1-800-514-1402 for your free information kit. That number again is 1-800-514-1402. Or visit our website today.
Call now.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. Political reforms in Iraq have yet to yield results. Minority Sunni and Kurdish leaders walked out from Parliament's first session today, less than 2 hours after the meeting began. Leaders in Baghdad are expected to form a new, more inclusive government for Iraq. Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki faces international pressure to make progress in the reforms as his country continues to struggle battling ISIS. Meanwhile, ISIS is celebrating its self-declared victory. A new video shows the militants parading combat vehicles around the Syrian city of Raqqa. The radical Sunni faction formally announced the establishment of an Islamic State in conquered territory in Syria and Iraq yesterday. They also announced changing their name, shortening it to the Islamic State. ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi has a bounty of $10 million. Sectarian fighting in Iraq could withdraw how the Middle East looks on the map. Kurdish forces fighting ISIS militants in the country are fortifying their positions, raising the possibilities of a formal Kurdish state in northern Iraq. Kurds mark their territory by raising their own flags. The ethnic group governs itself separately from Iraqi leadership. And hundreds of Americans gathered to honor 3 fallen Israeli teens. More than is gathered for a special memorial service in New York, reciting prayers in English and Yiddish. One of the teens, 16-year-old Naftali Frekel, had a dual citizenship with the United States. Israel reported finding the bodies yesterday. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, the final hour of the Tuesday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show, and we're soon to be joined by Kevin D. Williamson, roving correspondent of the National Review. He'll be here to talk about his really wonderfully provocative column, Eternal Dictators. And we'll also talk about the wealth issue with the Clinton and IRS scandal. Sheriff Joe Arpaio will be here of Maricopa County, Arizona. Sheriff, you know him, you love him. 21 years, I think he's been doing that now. And he'll talk about the immigration problem. What else? And how the illegals are piling up, how he puts them in jail. They get let go, they come back. Don't ask. Chris Farrell, Director of Research and Investigation for Judicial Watch, will be here to talk about the Hobby Lobby case and the court date, July 10th. He goes back to court with the IRS in an effort to secure more emails and more documentation. All that, give me 5 and more on this hour of the Steve Malzberg Show.
Ready? Fire away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
The suit is a stunt. But what I've told Speaker Boehner directly is, if you're really concerned about me taking too many executive actions, why don't you try getting something done through Congress? The majority of American people want to see immigration reform done. We had a bipartisan bill through the Senate, and you're going to squawk if I try to fix some parts of it administratively that are within my authority while you are not doing anything?
All right, folks, there's the president. We welcome in Kevin D. Williamson, and he is Deputy Managing Editor of National Review. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks for joining us. I got to tell you, this is probably the most important issue of our time. I mean, compared, all the things we're dealing with, every individual scandal, what's going on in Iraq, now what's going on in Israel, Syria, you name it, and scandal after scandal. But the lawsuit that John Boehner threatens to file doesn't involve recess appointments, doesn't talk about number of executive orders, which the left has tried to turn this into a numbers game between Clinton and Bush and Obama. This is about violation of the law. Now, just I'm sure you know this, but just to tell the folks, the president again reiterated that he's going to act on immigration, and he said, quote, "So sue me." Now he's making a joke of it. Now he's mocking this, and I got to tell you, you wrote a great piece that the Eternal Dictator, and you document, some of the dictators in recent history. I love the Isimo Francisco Franco, which takes me back to Saturday Night Live and all those reports that General Isimo Francisco Franco is still dead. I know you're 41. I hope you're old enough to remember that. But this man, this president, our president, seems to be gaining more and more chutzpah, more and more gall, and he's going to continue with this.
Yeah, he's a little like the velociraptors in Jurassic Park, always just sort of testing the fence to see where they can push and where they can get through. And of course, as John Funn pointed out a couple of days ago, the Supreme Court has, since 2012, I guess, 13 times unanimously ruled against his administration on various actions of administrative and executive overreach. So the point.
And that is, Kevin. That is unbelievably huge. If the left wants to play with numbers, then let's play with numbers. How many times did Bush get ruled against 9-0 by the U.S. Supreme Court within a 2-year time span, a 1.5-year time span, or Clinton, or Reagan, or anybody? I mean, we're talking about 13 times in a year and a half.
Right. He is systematically trying to expand the power of the presidency because he's got a divided Congress. He can't do the things that he wants to do, and he's unwilling to accept that he won his election and the people in the House won their elections too, and we have co-equal branches of government. He just doesn't want to accept that. He thinks of himself as being more like a European prime minister, where he should be the head of a unified, unitary government that's going to put his policies into place rather than what he can get through Congress. So the point of the piece isn't to compare him, obviously, to Salazar, or the colonels in Greece, or Franco, or Pinochet, or anyone like that, but to demonstrate that what we have in the United States, which is a very unusual, long-lasting, small R Republican form of government under democratic institutions, is very fragile, and it's abnormal from the long point of view of human history. As I was pointing out, I'm only 41 years old, and in my lifetime, all sorts of countries that we think of as being advanced and civilized nations, Spain, Portugal, Greece, India,
they've all had dictators, yeah.
Dictatorships. Dictatorship isn't something that gets imposed on countries. It's the normal state of affairs. What has to be nurtured and maintained is liberty, which is not a natural state.
By the way, and you talk about Woodrow Wilson and FDR in this country, and I think that's such an important history lesson that really every American should learn. I mean, FDR certainly with his with his extended presidency, and Woodrow Wilson, who locked up people and tore apart the freedom of the press and the bills that were passed and Sedition Act and all that. I mean, it was a scary presidency when you look back on that, and Americans don't even blink an eye. They don't have a clue, and he was really a progressive. And so we have to learn really from history what progressives are.
Sure, the thing that Wilson and Roosevelt have in common isn't just their politics, but what they really have in common is war. And war is always an invitation to aggrandizement of executive power. I mean, it happened in the Roman Republic, it happened in our republic. Wilson in peacetime, or Roosevelt in peacetime, would have been problematic, but they wouldn't have been the sort of figures that they became. Now, Wilson was a much worse case than Roosevelt. Roosevelt had some bad ideas, obviously, and he enacted some programs with which I disagree, but Wilson really attempted to centralize power in Washington in the White House in roughly the same fashion that Mussolini was looking at doing in Italy, down to dispatching, his goon squads to go rough up anti-war protesters and that sort of thing. So the lucky thing for us was that what was called war socialism, which was Wilson's program of sort of regimenting the economy and politics during the war, a lot of his acolytes wanted to keep that after the war was over. And fortunately, we had a number of good and sensible patriotic people, both in his administration and outside of it after the war, who ensured that that didn't happen. But as Robert Higgs always argues in Crisis in Leviathan, every time something goes wrong, every time there's some crisis, the state always expands a little bit, and then it never quite goes back all the way to the levels that it was before. We've seen this with the war on terror. There's the very same people who were abominating George W. Bush and Dick Cheney for things like the Patriot Act are now celebrating the fact that the American government is conducting assassinations of American citizens overseas with no sort of legal warrant for doing so. The little bit of snooping that was happening under the Patriot Act is now universal snooping under the NSA. And the very people who were, coming out of their pants with fear and rage about that when it was George W. Bush are now the ones enacting these policies, the ones pressing for them, and in the press and in the political commentator class celebrating them. So the chances of us ever going back to where we were before this, I think, are really very slim. So it's kind of a ratchet effect, and it's something that we always, as free people, have to be on the watch for and always have to be fighting against.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just to get a plug in for Jonah Goldberg with liberal fascism, I mean, he goes in depth into everything we're talking about, especially with regard specifically to Wilson and FDR and Mussolini and the whole thing. But let me ask you, where do you think this ends? I mean, does John Boehner miraculously fast-track his lawsuit and reins in Barack Obama, or does this suit go nowhere? And even if it does, Obama's long gone, and Obama's going to keep getting away with everything he tries, pushing the envelope, until and unless Boehner exercises his congressional authority and they tighten the purse strings, cut off funding, or use other options that are available to them.
Yeah, well, what I always, support in these sorts of circumstances is fighting on all possible fronts. So the lawsuit's not really going to go anywhere, and it's not going to do anything, but certainly they can do things with appropriations. Certainly they can do things with other congressional actions. I mean, the people who talk about impeachment are kidding themselves. We're nowhere close to politically being able to get that done, and it probably would be a pretty bad idea if we were even to try. But there are things that Congress can do, but ultimately it's not what John Boehner does, it's what the American people do. And the American people had a chance to weigh in on this in 2012, and they voted for 4 more years of it, so they're getting what they asked for.
That is the scary part. And now, of course, that women have lost all health care. Maybe you haven't heard, but about 24 hours ago, women have no more health care in this country, and they're forbidden to have any more health care because of the Supreme Court. They're trying to make that out of that. Let's talk about Hillary for a second. We played a soundbite, a video of her, I'll just say kvetching about the fact that we're now turning into a country that's repressive against women, and that's what she fought against so hard as Secretary of State. Really a huge exaggeration. But, I got a story here from Business Insider that Bill and Hillary made $160 million, Kevin, after leaving the White House. Not really rich and flat broke? I don't think so.
Yeah, I wish I were that kind of flat broke. Their vacation house in the Hamptons, not too far from here. It's just a rental, of course. They don't own it, but it's $200,000 a month. This in a country in which the median household income for a year is about $50,000. So
all one of them has to do is make one speech, and they got that covered.
Right. Chelsea, just starting off in life in her new marriage, lives not too far from where I'm looking out my window here. In fact, over on Gramercy Park, in a $10.5 million apartment. And then she gives this interview about, well, I tried to see if I could care about money, but I just couldn't make myself do it. Well, of course she doesn't care about money. It's something she's never had to think about in her life because she's always been extraordinarily wealthy. You take it away from her, she'll be a fish out of water, and she'll have to flop her way back into it. People like that, Hillary giving her talk about, well, the truly well-off are different from us. And Bill Clinton talking about inequality and all the rest of it. It's unseemly, and it's in bad taste. Now, the big criticism of Bill Clinton when he was first running for president among these sort of patrician country club Republican types was that he was this grifting hillbilly from Arkansas who had no class and no sense of what it was like to be a figure of national importance. And the thing about it is, even though that was a snobby and nasty line of criticism, he keeps proving them right. And now that he's a guy with $100-odd million in the bank, an ex-president, and has done everything in life one could hope to do, he is still this embarrassing, vulgar, oleaginous figure who is just a national embarrassment who will not go away. And I wish these people would be drummed out of public life, but until the American public decides that it's going to recover its sense of self-respect and remember what we fought a revolution about, then we're going to keep enduring these people who are essentially the political version of the Kardashians.
Time will tell, Kevin, and I thank you so much for joining us today. That's Kevin Williamson, and of course he is Deputy Managing Editor of National Review. Thank you, Kevin. When we come back, we're going to be joined by America's toughest sheriff, the one and only Joe Arpaio, and he will be here to talk about the immigration problem, what could be done about it, what else on the Steve Malzberg.
Are you feeling tired, run down, low on energy? Well, you could be just like millions of Americans whose thyroid gland isn't functioning the way it's supposed to. Well, now there's hope to change all of that. Introducing Actilin. Actilin is a premium nutritional supplement designed to support optimal thyroid function. Actilin has 17 powerful ingredients that support adrenal health, thyroid function, energy, and your immune system. Actilin was formulated by the renowned holistic practitioner, Dr. David Brownstein. And now, for a limited time, you can get a free bottle of Actilin with our special offer. You pay only for shipping and handling. Act right now and get Dr. Brownstein's free special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Thyroid. Get Actilin and the special report. Sign up today at getactilin.com. That's getactilin.com. Or call us at the number below.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. MyBenefits811.com. At MyBenefits811.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other strategies we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At MyBenefits811.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says MyBenefits811.com is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to MyBenefits811.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's MyBenefits811.com. MyBenefits811.com.
Visit phassociation.org to help provide hope for children with PH. Hope for Ian, Katie Grace, Maddie, and me, Lucas. The Pulmonary Hypertension Association, empowered by hope.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
The problem is that under current law, once those kids come across the border, there's a system in which we're supposed to process them, take care of them, until we can send them back. It's a lengthy process.
Is your message don't come?
Oh, our message absolutely is don't send your children unaccompanied on trains or through a bunch of smugglers. That is our direct message to the families in Central America. Do not send your children to the borders. If they do make it, they'll get sent back.
All right, folks, that was the president specifically addressing the crisis, although I'm sure he doesn't view it as a crisis, of the children coming across the border. Joining us now is Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Maricopa County, Arizona Sheriff for the past 21 years, and of course he needs no introduction. Hello, Sheriff.
How are you?
I'm well. When you hear the president say that if they come, they'll be sent back, what are the odds of that happening? Do you believe him?
Zero. He should be sending back all the illegal immigrants, including those that have committed crimes. I just sent a letter last night to the Homeland Security Secretary. This is my second letter. I want explanation, investigation as why 3,800 of the people in my jails that are charged with state, local crimes are here illegally. We turn them over to ICE, and they keep coming back over and over again. So how come they're not deported? Or if they are, why do they keep coming back across the border? If they're sent out the back door, they keep committing crimes. So he can't even handle that situation. You think he's going to handle these kids? This has been going on for months. This isn't anything new.
Right.
I have my own theory about this.
Go ahead.
Theory is that he knew that this would draw controversy. And I said this 3 weeks ago on a national show. I predicted he's doing this to invoke his executive order, using this as a vehicle, and also try to
in a Central American country. It's absurd.
Well, like I said, they can't even keep track of all the criminals in my jail that I turn over to ICE. They can't keep track of them. They keep coming back to the jail. How are they going to keep track of these kids traveling to New York or trying to unite? And you think they're going to report to ICE? Come on.
All right.
They're not going to report to ICE.
You are in favor of deploying the U.S. military to Mexico, correct?
On a bilateral basis. I didn't say invade.
Right.
Mexico.
No, of course.
Oh, I understand. Because when I was head of the DEA in Mexico City, we worked operational. I had agents working undercover, worked alongside the Army, the Mexican Army, the federales. So why can't we just put some resources, Border Patrol or military, across the border and work with their Army and their law enforcement and clean the mess up? It's only common sense, but you know and I know that's never going to happen between the two presidents in Mexico and the U.S.
What do you think the ultimate goal is of the left and the president and people who are continuing this and not enforcing the laws and putting you and others in the position that you're in?
Well, it's a complex problem. I'm not going to get into the social issues like free medical and not paying taxes and all that. But I'm sure the business people, chambers of commerce, I don't think they like this sheriff because, people like to hire cheap labor, and that is cheap labor when they come across. And also amnesty. They want to give these so-called 11 million, I don't know where they keep coming up with 11 million, want to give them amnesty. So I'm against amnesty because of a fairness issue. If if you're going to let these guys in and give them amnesty, let the whole world come in, even those that are waiting and obey the law. They wait years to come into the United States, and then you come in here illegally, and they're going to reward you with a citizenship or a free get-out-of-jail pass card. Come on. It's not fair.
All right. Sheriff, just keep up the fight. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, ladies and gentlemen. It is a horrific situation. As he mentioned, was it 38% of illegal alien inmates are in his jails. He turns them over to federal authorities for violating immigration laws, and they come back over and over and over. These laws are not being enforced. So John Boehner, who I disagree with on many things, is absolutely correct when he says to the president, as he allegedly did or reportedly did, well, he says he did. I heard him say he did. We can't trust you to enforce the law, because he's not enforcing it now. Coming back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show right here on Newsmax Television. Okay.
Keep watching for a special free offer from Dr. Andrew Orden.
I've spent nearly 30 years looking for an effective, instant breakthrough to reduce the appearance of wrinkles that can be applied topically instead of with surgery or invasive medical techniques. And I finally found it with Derm Exclusive's Fill-In Freeze.
The Fill-In Freeze is definitely a secret weapon. It just instantly fills the crow's feet area around the smile lines and smooths out the whole complexion.
The powerful 4-peptide combination in Fill-In Freeze eliminates the appearance of wrinkles by visibly restoring skin to its natural smooth state instantly.
I want to look like I'm 25 again. Don't we all? Every morning I put the Fill-In Freeze on. The lines around my eyes are completely gone. I look 15 years younger. It gives me a lot more confidence.
Now it's your turn to see your own instant results with Fill-In Freeze and pay only $39.95. But act fast because Dr. Orden is giving the first 500 callers a second full tube of Fill-In Freeze free. That's nearly $120 of Fill-In Freeze for only $39.95.
With Fill-In Freeze, you can take away the wrinkles. I'm able to put it on my crow's feet and wrinkles I was getting, and they totally disappear. I look 10 years younger.
Call now and this special offer gets even better. Today, Dr. Orden will also send you his Micro-Peel Resurfacing Pads, Intensive Repair Serum, and Collagen Lift Moisturizer. A $200 value, absolutely free.
I know you're wondering what Derm Exclusive can do for you. Well, you don't have to wonder. You can order it right now and try it for yourself absolutely risk-free.
Call now and we'll even upgrade your order to express delivery free. Call 1-800-662-1971 and claim your free fill-in freeze, plus over $200 in bonuses. That's 1-800-662-1971. Call now.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS? Are you struggling to make ends meet because you owe more in taxes than you can afford to pay?
The IRS is relentless and will collect from you. They can garnish your wages or place a levy on your bank account. You have rights, and you can stop them by calling the tax resolvers.
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, our qualified CPAs, tax negotiators, and support staff know the law and know how to get your situation under control legally and permanently.
Call the number on your screen now, and we will contact the IRS on your behalf. Help you end wage garnishment, stop collection calls, remove tax liens, resolve tax penalties, and reduce the amount you owe if you qualify.
It's a free call and a free consultation, but we can only help if you pick up the phone and dial the number below.
You wouldn't fix your car without going to a mechanic, so why face the IRS without an experienced company that can help you?
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, call now and find out how we can help you resolve your IRS problems.
Call the tax resolvers at 800-489-3480.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. A federal judge struck down Kentucky's same-sex marriage ban. U.S. District Judge John G. Hayburn says the state's ban violates the Equal Protection Clause in the United States Constitution. Hayburn previously struck down another Kentucky law that banned recognizing gay marriages from other states and countries. The ruling is currently on hold. Meanwhile, hundreds of protesters gathered in Jerusalem calling for the revenge of the slain youths. The demonstration called for the Israeli government to increase military action against Hamas. Some protesters chanted "Death to Arabs." Hamas publicly praised the abduction of the Israeli teens, but hasn't yet taken responsibility. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Of course, the funerals for the three murdered Israeli teenagers, and by the way, one has dual citizenship, he's also an American citizen, took place today in Israel. And Israel has retaliated very strongly against Hamas, not only for the murders of the three teenagers, but also for launching rockets from the Gaza Strip into the state of Israel. But I want to put up a picture, and this picture is on truthrevolt.org, and it was linked, I believe it was linked on Drudge to this story. That's how I came upon it. And this is reportedly the ambulance carrying the bodies of the murdered teenagers. And you'll see the windshield is shattered, and the windshield has eggs or rocks thrown at it, and the windshield is shattered and splattered with paint or whatever. And reportedly, these were Arab youths throwing stones and paint at the ambulance. Do I have independent confirmation of this? No. That's why I'm pointing it out. But would it surprise me? Would it surprise me if this were true? And I believe it's true. I believe it's possible. I believe it's likely, which is why I'm putting it up. I'm attributing it to where I found it, so it's not like I'm reporting it as my own. So if it turns out to be false, I've given you the background and you could judge for yourself. I'm not saying it's 100%, but I'm saying I believe it. I believe it. Because the Palestinians teach their children, first of all, routinely, to throw rocks. To throw rocks at Israelis, at settlers, to throw rocks at soldiers. And then, God forbid, a soldier shoots back or fires back, even rubber bullets in self-defense. Then it's the evil Israelis, as if a rock isn't a lethal weapon. The late Ed Koch, the former mayor of New York City, decades ago, was in Israel. I believe he was at the Wailing Wall. And he got hit in the head with a rock. He was bleeding profusely. They took him away. I mean, rocks aren't a funny thing. And many believe, Alan Dershowitz believes, I think it was Alan Dershowitz, I don't put words in his mouth, I think it was, the Palestinians root for retaliation by the Israelis. They have their kids throw rocks at soldiers, hoping in many instances, that the soldiers will retaliate and there'll be an injured Palestinian child for the media to take pictures of and post around the world. This is the culture. When Mickey Mouse it calls for the destruction of Israel and killing the Jews and calling the Jews pigs and monkeys on Palestinian television, what do you expect? What do you expect? All right, folks, we're going to come back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. But first, today's America's Moment. Don't go away.
Since the beginning annals of history, the Middle East has always been a center for conflicts, intrigue, and war. So it was again on August 2nd, 1990, when Iraq's then-President Saddam Hussein ordered his armies to invade Kuwait. His objective? The oil-rich fields of Rumalia. It took 5 months of failed negotiations before the United States and its European and Arab allies abandoned their diplomatic efforts and initiated military actions against the invading Iraqi forces. On the evening of January 16, 1991, President George Herbert Walker Bush addressed the nation.
Just 2 hours ago, Allied air forces began an attack on military targets in Iraq and Kuwait. These attacks continue as I speak.
The largest Allied coalition since World War II was amassed under the command of General Norman Schwarzkopf. Known as Stormin' Norman, he led over 500,000 troops with military forces primarily from the United States, Britain, and Saudi Arabia, along with logistical and financial support from an additional 31 nations. President Bush was quick to make known the Allies' clear and limited objectives. Known to history as either the Persian Gulf War or First Gulf War, it marked the beginning of frontline reporting by embedded news reporters from around the world, providing their viewers with live pictures of ongoing battlefield actions. Anticipating the Arab nations opposing him would refuse to fight alongside their archenemy, the Israelis, Hussein launched Scud missile attacks against Israel, hoping to draw them into the conflict. But the U.S. quickly deployed to Israel the new Patriot missile interceptors, which for the first time were used successfully on the battlefield. In the end, Israel stood back. Within 100 hours of the ground forces launching their assault, the war was over. But not before Saddam Hussein had ordered the destruction of the very oil fields he sought. 1 week following the cessation of fighting, President George Herbert Walker Bush addresses Congress and the nation.
As president, I can report to the nation, aggression is defeated, the war is over.
For Newsmax TV, I'm Bill Curtis, and this is an American Moment.
In 2014, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you're robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Hi, I'm Mike Reagan. If you think the worst of Obamacare is behind us, think again. Soon, its new rules will affect every business, every insured person, and every Medicare recipient. That's why you need to protect yourself, your family, and your business with the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's easy to read, the fastest way for you to understand this law. The Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the tips, loopholes, and strategies you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need to get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's a #1 New York Times bestseller, and already more than 500,000 Americans have gotten their copy. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. The Obamacare Survival Guide is at bookstores everywhere, or get Newsmax's $4.95 special offer and save $15 off the cover price. Just go online now or call us today.
People ask me all the time, George, what do I do with my idea for a new product? I tell them, Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been providing patent referrals, preparing ideas, and submitting to companies for more than 30 years.
I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
For your free inventors information, call 1-800-520-7097.
My name is J.D. Hayworth, and I'm employed as anchor analyst at Newsmax TV. As a free people, as Americans, there can be a unity of purpose, but it's not always unanimous. I believe what we have a chance to offer is a key choice. If you want a perspective, independent, American, original, free, it'll be here at Newsmax TV.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
It is a significant game changer of sort of, you have this theme of corporations being people too. It's a huge blow to the Obama administration. This has been an awful 10 days. They were previously found to be in violation of the Fourth Amendment and privacy. Then they were found to be in violation of the separation of powers. And now they've been found to be in violation of the First Amendment and the religion clauses. I mean, you just don't want to get out of bed after a week like that.
Great line from Jonathan Turley. Welcome back. Steve Malzberg with you, and we're joined now by Chris Farrell, Director of Research and Investigation for Judicial Watch. Hello, sir.
How you doing?
I'm well, Chris. Thank you very much. So let's turn to Hobby Lobby first. And you guys at Judicial Watch, you filed an amicus brief, if I'm not mistaken, correct, in favor of Hobby Lobby?
Yes, we did.
Well, congratulations on that. So. You know what the left is doing out there, Chris? They're portraying this as a war against women, a continuation of it, and now women, all of a sudden, they're not going to be able to get almost any health care because of this.
Yeah, it's preposterous. This is the whole notion of tell the big lie and just keep telling it over and over again. In large part, this is an effort to whip up their base. This appeals to the wild-eyed loonies of the left. And it gets them very exercised, but its foundation, it's predicated on a lie.
But what about what Jonathan Turley said? I mean, actually there have been, I believe now by John Fund's count, it's 13 Supreme Court decisions, not even counting Hobby Lobby because that was 5-4, 13 9-0 decisions against this administration since 2012. That is mind-boggling.
It is, and it's really a consequence of the kind of overreach that the administration's been involved in from the beginning, right? So the president promised radical transformation, and he has delivered. The problem is that his socialist notions of how we should be transformed don't line up with the Constitution. And even though people like the great Chief Justice made an incredible error with respect to Obamacare, there are still some places where the reaches, the tentacles of this administration have just gone too far. And even to this court, they've overreached. And so you're starting to see some backlash. You're starting to see the court tell the administration to reel it back in, that we're not quite going to add an extra S to USA.
Right, very good point. And it speaks to abuse of power, which anytime you lose 9-0, you've abused your power. And the latest 9-0, of course, the two cases the other day, NLRB, and something he had nothing to do with but did support, I believe, and that was the buffer zone around the abortion clinic in Massachusetts. But let's take this forward. One thing this shows, Chris, and it's a little off the beaten path, is just how important winning the presidency is, and I don't think this is discussed enough by conservatives. You may not agree 100% with the candidate who's running in your party, but for crying out loud, it comes down to appointing Supreme Court justices, and God forbid Obama gets to tilt the balance while he's still in there. All bets are off on everything.
Yeah, elections have consequences, and that's why FDR wanted to pack the Supreme Court by adding additional justices to skew the numbers his way. That's an Obama technique. You'd expect that from him, right?
Right.
But this is, you'll notice though, despite this defeat, but it's actually the string of defeats in the court. What did the president do yesterday evening? Went out and again exercised executive authority. Said essentially he's going to grant amnesty his own way. He doesn't care. He's moving ahead. So, I mean, this is a pattern. This is a technique of the left. When delivered a defeat at the tactical level or even at sort of the operational level, strategically, they double down. They come back again twice as hard in the opposite direction because they want to control the narrative. And so he gets the trump card. He gets the last press briefing at the end of the day, and he essentially says he's going to do whatever he wants when it comes to the border and immigration and amnesty.
Right, but don't worry because he's cleared it with he'll have cleared it with Homeland Security and of course the great Attorney General Eric Holder, who's in contempt of Congress. Let me ask you this, and this is before we get to the IRS scandal and some other things. You've had such great success in the courts in getting documents, et cetera, and over the many years, the wonderful things Judicial Watch has done. What do you think of the chances of John Boehner's lawsuit going forward? A, will it even get anywhere while Obama's still president? And B, will it mean anything? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have lost Chris Farrell. We will try to get him on the phone while we try to hook him up. This is what happens, as amazing as technology is, there's always a chance that you're going to get a flat tire on the road. Your car has all the computers and the tires are for rain and snow and sleet and steel belted, and you run over a piece of glass or a nail and you're pulled over to the side of the road calling AAA. So we're calling AAA right now, television-wise, and we're trying to re-hook up with Chris Farrell. Hopefully we could get him on the phone because I would like to get the latest from him on the IRS scandal and also find out exactly what he thinks of John Boehner's lawsuit. And keep this in mind about John Boehner's lawsuit, because the media attacks the lawsuit, well, either by calling it racist and saying that Boehner and McConnell are saying that Obama's uppity, as Melissa Harris Perry did and Al Sharpton did, or they say, well, what are they suing him for? He has less executive orders than Clinton and Bush, and he made less recess appointments than Clinton and Bush. It's not about that. It's about selective enforcement of the law. So we have Chris back. Chris, sorry about that. So what do you think the chances of any success with the Boehner lawsuit are?
I don't have high regard or high hopes for that. I understand what he's getting at. I understand sort of the political publicity value of it, but I don't know that it is the constitutional means to correct other failures. Do you know what I mean? I think Boehner has arrived at this as a remedy for really a lack of his own leadership. This is a stronger leader who operated more effectively and exercised all the sort of levers of power that are available to the speaker wouldn't resort to a lawsuit.
Right. Well, let's face it. They have the purse strings. They could cut off funding, which they've never had the guts to do. And
right.
of course, then I'm not calling for it, but then they can impeach the guy.
Of course, or lesser officers, right?
Right.
So they can go after any constitutional officer of the executive. So that means they can knock out department secretaries, the attorney general. There's all sorts of things they could do.
The head of the IRS.
Sure.
Well, let's turn.
They're gutless.
Well, let's turn to the IRS. What's the latest in the email scandal as you see it?
Well, the good news is we have a court hearing on the 10th of July where Congress just kind of sends sharply worded memos back and forth to the IRS.
No, you guys get things done.
We get records and documents, and so the IRS has painted itself into a very dangerous corner. They've made all these public pronouncements to Congress and to others about how, the emails are lost and we can't find them and the hard drive is gone and blah, 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 all of which are laughable at their face. But nonetheless, that's their position. Guess who they haven't told that to? They haven't told that to us or the judge in our lawsuit against them. And so they've been producing reams of paper to us. In fact, this afternoon I just finished reviewing the fifth production of records to us. But in all of their status updates to the judge, not to us, to the judge, they have never once mentioned the loss of any kind of emails or records.
All right, so so these papers you're getting, are these from the alleged lost dates as they have testified to before Congress?
Excellent question. I'm not sure because I don't know. It's not clear to me what they're representing as having been lost. But I just finished reading Lois Lerner's emails this afternoon. I did a long memo on it explaining what was in there and what isn't. And
you have a date offhand?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you July 2012, I was reading emails from her talking about responding to Carl Levin's threatening letters. They were literally or figuratively, they were wetting their pants because Levin said if he didn't get a response back from them, because he sent them 7 threatening letters about going after various
right. So I just want to. We only have
he's going to hold hearings on them.
Chris, we only have a minute. So you're saying the claims made to the Congress by the IRS have not been made to the judge or to you in discovery or in response to your lawsuit requesting emails and documents from the IRS, correct?
Correct.
And you're also saying you read emails from Lois Lerner today, dated July 2012, that they handed over to you, which you think may or may not be from the dates they claimed to Congress they lost?
Correct.
Any way of knowing that for sure?
They've got a real problem when they go in front of the judge next week.
Wow. All right, Chris. Well, please come back with us as soon as that that problem becomes more obvious in a court of law. I appreciate you coming on, sir.
Thanks, Steve.
Take care. Chris Farrell, ladies and gentlemen, making some news here. Very, very interesting. So why wouldn't the IRS make that claim in court in response to the request for records and emails from the same time frame and same time period from the same people that the Congress has requested from? And they told the Congress they ain't got them. We'll continue. You know what's next? It's called Gimme 5, and it's right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
If you are age 85 or younger,
call 800-981-7668.
To learn more about the Senior Care Plan from Senior Life Insurance Company. The average funeral now costs over $7,500, but the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255, leaving your loved ones to pay your debt. The Senior Care Plan will pay up to $30,000 for funeral and other final expenses. There is no medical exam, and you'll have lifetime coverage. Your rates will never increase, your benefits will never decrease, and your plan cannot be canceled by Senior Life. To receive free information about the Senior Care Plan and its benefits,
call 800-981-7668.
Also receive information about a free prescription discount card by calling now. You have no obligation. Operators are standing by. Call now.
Tired of mops that can't reach the dirt? Do you hate wringing out mops with your bare hands? Oh no! Is your mop a dirty, disgusting mess? Well, no more. It's time to meet the incredible Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System, the only mop and bucket that spins the dirt away. The mop head spins to pick up the most dirt, gets into corners and around toilet bowls. The super absorbent head picks up 10 times its weight in dirty, disgusting liquid, traps it inside, and doesn't drip. To clean it, just put it in the bucket, and like magic, it just spins the dirt away. And you will never touch dirty, disgusting mop water again. But the magic of the Spin Mop keeps on coming. The Hurricane 360 Spin Mop picks up dust and dirt at the same time. And it works on any hard surface and will never scratch or leave streaks. Its amazing bucket just can't be beat. Just dunk and spin. There's nothing else like it, guaranteed. No more touching dirty, disgusting mops, and no more getting on your hands and knees. Get the only mop that features spinning action and the revolutionary spinning bucket that cuts your cleaning time in half. Get the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System for just 2 payments of $19.99. You'll also get a Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. You can take advantage of our limited time 2-for-1 pick it up special and get a second Spin Mop set. Just pay additional shipping and fee. You get it all: 2 spin mops, 2 mop heads, 2 revolutionary spinning buckets, and 2 Sticky Buddies for just 2 easy payments of $19.99. And we'll upgrade you to free priority handling. So don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-611-4362. That's 1-800-611-4362 to get your Hurricane Spin Mop double offer. So hurry and call now at 1-800-611-4362. That's 1-800-611-4362.
Time to wake up. I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Don't forget, you've got a job to do today.
Hey, Mom. I got the job. Thanks.
I've got the job. Welcome aboard.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does. And like that, you're a job creator.
This has upset them in a way that you could see them splitting off. I remember it wasn't that long ago when the Tea Party was claiming, we're not Republicans, we are a completely independent party, don't lump us in. Do you think we could actually see a split?
Keeping my fingers crossed. This would be a good thing for everybody, starting with the Republicans, I think, if they could get that distance.
Right.
You know, the Tea Party will break away. Maybe some sensible voices can be heard finally.
Yes, yes. Welcome to Give Me Five, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Maher and Bobby Ghosh, who I'm not sure exactly who he is, hoping that for the good, again, for the good of the Republican Party, the Tea Party splits away, the party breaks in two over disagreements over immigration, etc., and it'll be so good for the Republican Party. I love, it's heartwarming when Democrats, left-wing liberals are looking out for the betterment of the Republican Party. Then comes in author Max Brooks. I believe he's the son of Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft. Get a load of this.
You know, this has happened before in history. In Germany in the 20s and 30s, there was this right-wing reactionary element that was so terrified of anarchy and communism that they said, you know what, there's a group of street thugs that are real ideologues and they're willing to take it and they're willing to bloody themselves. And, you know, once they get into power, we can control them. And that was why they backed him. We can control this.
The Tea Party are the Nazis, according to this writer. Now, you would think the son of Mel Brooks would know better. You would think anybody with an education would know better. The Tea Party, analogous to the Nazis, ladies and gentlemen. Now, of course, the president yesterday made villains out of the Tea Party again by name. But this was on Friday before the president did that. Andy Dean, talk show host, raised an objection. I think he was the only one. Watch.
And what they didn't
realize... Is that
realize,
a stretch? Nazis versus the Tea Party who just want smaller government?
What is true is that ideologues are only loyal to ideology.
And also, I don't know, I mean...
The Tea Party's ideology isn't to take over Europe. It's for smaller government and less
But
tax.
they are still ideologues. They don't want to compromise. He used reach
you could
across
call Elizabeth
the aisle.
Warren an ideologue. Both sides have ideologues.
When you don't compromise, you're
One
an
doesn't
ideologue.
What's that?
When you don't compromise, when you don't reach across the aisle, when you don't participate in the democratic process,
one could argue the opposite. One could argue that's having a strong belief system. And, you know, Obama's on TV all the time saying, well, I'm not going to compromise with Congress. I'm just going to do it myself. And why is that a good thing?
All right, Andy Dean is absolutely right. So if you don't compromise, you're an ideologue. If you're an ideologue, you're a Nazi. Only if you're a Tea Party. You're not an ideologue if you don't compromise, and you're not a Nazi if you're an ideologue and you don't compromise and you're a Democrat, like Obama. Listen to Jay Carney. Does this sound familiar to you?
How this plays out obviously depends on the actions that the Congress takes, but it is absolutely the president's position that, you know, he won't negotiate under threat of default or continued shutdown of the government, you know, budget priorities, because the Republicans are interested in holding the economy hostage and the middle class hostage to try to achieve through that process what they could not achieve through Congress in the past, through the courts, or through the ballot box.
So there's Jay Carney explaining why the president won't negotiate, calling the other side hostage takers. They won't do this, they won't do that. So the president won't negotiate. Isn't that by the definition of Mr. Brooks an ideologue? And then doesn't that make him a Nazi? Now listen to the president himself talk about how he won't negotiate. This is back during the budget crisis and the debt ceiling. Watch.
One thing I will not compromise over is whether or not Congress should pay the tab for a bill they've already racked up. If Congress refuses to give the United States the ability to pay its bills on time, the consequences for the entire global economy could be catastrophic.
He won't negotiate. By Max Brooks's definition, that's an ideologue. And an ideologue is a Nazi. Again, if you're a Tea Party member. If you're an ideologue and you're Barack Obama, if you're an ideologue and you're Jay Carney, if you're an ideologue and you're Nancy Pelosi, then you're just doing the right thing, baby. But, you know, come on, Max. You would think you'd be better educated and come up with a better statement than that, because it shows your extreme ignorance. On the Steve Malzberg Show.